A comprehensive list of what Sweet Baby Inc. can potentially work on if it's hired. Writing, cinematics, dialogue, UI, UX writing, barks, copywriting, etc. Narrative, story pitches, world building, character creation, narrative design, story feedback and tweaks, and more. Representation, cultural consultation, sensitivity and inclusivity reading, risk and opportunities assessment, and more. Development, full-scale game development and interactive fiction. That's a pretty broad range of shit that they could do.
Yeah.
So Sweet Baby employees maintain that overall their job is to provide assistance to companies that already want to improve already existing diverse elements. So let's fucking read that sentence again. Provide assistance to companies that already want to improve already existing diverse elements. Because it seems like Tony honestly kind of has maybe a bit of a reading challenge going on. So I just want him to really take that in. As per the company's CEO, who, she's apparently the devil, but the perspective is never that we're coming in and injecting diversity. For the most part, it's the reverse. What? They're taking out diversity? No. It's that the company has created a character, a diverse character, and they want to make that character more representative of real life people and experiences and more interesting.
On the topic of jiggle physics, this is like the new grifter topic. They are very adamant on Japanese games and just in general Eastern Asian games, like the newest Stellar Blade from Korea. They're very adamant that these games are the saviors of gaming, that they are destroying the woke and the West, because the West and the left and the woke hate beauty. God damn, jiggle for me! But basically, the argument goes that most of the Western games that are coming out are actively trying to uglify women. Holy shit, that jelly can roll! Damn! God damn, that ass ripples throughout time and space.
Gordy, why are you doing that right now? Did you hear him? Back there, being a douchebag?
This kind of stuff has been happening on the internet since as far back as I can remember when I was in high school.
Critical drinker fans, this is what you take seriously. Fucking reflect on your life.
Thank you, and fuck you.
Solid work, team. See you on the ground.
Did you see that shit, Wolverine? Your time is up. I'm the cool one now. Go fuck yourself, bub.
Hey, look.
It turns out people come to Marvel Comics and DC Comics for specifically superhero fare. Now, within superhero fare, you're admittedly going to have some slice of life stuff. You're going to have some coming of age stuff. Of course, if you're a younger superhero, you're even going to have some relationship drama. But for the most part, when fans read superhero comic books, they're expecting a vast majority of the story to be superhero related. The big problem that came in, and really it started with Marvel, but now it's moved over to DC and it's kind of taken over both of their publishers, whether they like to admit it or not, is they went out there and they said, well, we need more representation in comic books. We need more LGBTQ representation in our comic books. We don't have enough gay and trans heroes, so they went out and hired a bunch of like slice of life, coming of age, YA graphic novel LGBTQ writers that had been marginally successful in the graphic novel market, and they said, you know what? Hell, they're qualified to write Batman. They're qualified to write Superman. They're qualified to write any of our characters because they're going to actually bring in authentic LGBTQ representation to our superhero universe.
God! Jesus! Fuck! Fuck! You watch all that? Yeah.
The key isn't winning or losing, it's making the attempt. I may never be what I ought to be, want to be, but how will I know unless I try? Sure, it's scary, but what's the alternative? Stagnation. A safer, more terrible form of death, not of the body, but of the spirit. An animal knows what it is, and it accepts it. A man may know what he is, but he questions. He dreams, he strives, changes, grows.
Someone cooked here.
You can't see my penis, can you?
Fresh me, true believer. The other one, no organized chaos. Actual fandom.
You should delete your channel. The female version of Dick Grayson is Pussy Grey Daughter.
He's not alive, but he's right.
But really, if you want to do, any kind of like karmic justice back in the fucking world for the damage that you're causing with this kind of shit, you should just delete your fucking channel. Okay? Drink it in. Yeah. Absorb it. Let it wash over you.
Think that just because a guy reads comics, he can't start
Hey! Hi. Welcome. It's Friday. This is that show that you sometimes watch on Fridays. And I know who's not watching every Friday. I'm keeping score. All right. Now, I hope everybody had a lovely week and had a pretty chill Friday and whatnot. R.I.P. OJ, Yeah, tonight we got Richard Pace, and why even waste time? Let's just bring him on right now.
Why waste time? Here I am. Hi, everybody.
Thanks for being here, man. Yeah, having you in chat a few times has been pretty cool, and then finally got you on here. Because
it's good to listen to people fighting the good fight. A lot of times, I'll if I'm drawing away late at night in the studio and you come on, I won't comment. I'll just listen to it.
It's definitely appreciated, man. That's like one of the highlights of having done this is that I've had a few different professionals kind of they'll peek their head up and say, hey, doing good work there, and I'm like, hey, all right, and that motivates me for 6 months to come. That's all I need. But yeah, so it is definitely a fight, and it's definitely on YouTube feels like a losing one a lot, because there's just algorithmically the kind of content that these people make is YouTube loves it, and it makes it difficult. But let me get this ticker off the bottom here.
Well, I look at it the same way as actually civilized people versus Republicans. The people who vote in hate-fueled politics, which is essentially the Republican Party the entire time of my life, that hate feeds them.
Yeah.
Their self-victimization, their belief that they're under threat feeds them and drives them to adhere to the political ideology stronger. So just because, let's say some, Chudcast gets like twice the number of people watching all the time, it's from a smaller percentage of the population who gives a shit.
True. I mean,
the vast majority of people who read comics still have no idea who the fuck Comicsgate are.
That's something I try to remind people. It's like, if you're into comics, you're paying attention to this stuff on a regular basis, you might make the mistake of thinking that Comicsgate is like something that is super relevant outside of comics, and it's not even relevant within comics. That's something I actually be curious your perspective on. Is Comicsgate something that, like, do you actual, I call you guys actual pros, do you like sit around and complain about Comicsgate having any effect? Do they have any kind of effect on anything that happens, or is it just kind of like you're looking at them like, they're still doing this shit?
I think by and large, the professional comics community looks at Comicsgate as that tribe of cannibals who lives on the other side of the hill. You don't want to mess with them because they're fucking cannibals.
Right.
But you know that they're going to die off sooner or later. What does Comicsgate really offer anything other than self-fulfilling hate drama? I mean, so many times, I stopped tuning in with any sort of. I'm off Twitter, so it's like I now miss most of the drama, gratefully. But whenever it's brought to my attention, most of the time it's infighting.
Yep. I mean, that's what it is typically. Like and a lot of that is over time has just become, Ethan Van Sciver kind of, elbowing his way to the center of everything. And then, somebody gets a little too popular or whatever and starts, kind of inching on, I guess, his crowd, and he'll, knock him off the hill. And I've seen it happen over and over again. In fact, I called it was going to happen with Eric July and his Rippaverse over a year ago, whenever I realized, these guys are friends, and Eric July is making money, like, actually making some pretty good money with his little grifty comic book. I was like, Ethan's not going to stand for that for long. It's going to break apart. And,
go ahead.
And it did.
You have to remember, stupid people think this is a competition.
Yeah.
Anyone who's actually any good at what they're doing, anyone who actually enjoys the craft or art of it for its own sake, someone who's doing writing and drawing because they love to write and draw, it's not a competition for them. It's a competition for the people who are in it for fame or power or money.
Right.
I mean, if I was in this for the money, I would have stayed in video games and movies. I taught for a while, but most of the big money I got over before I came back to comics was in video games and movies. Pre-production.
I didn't know you worked in this field.
Usually a more relieved timeline too. but I'm doing what I love. I don't care if I sell X-Men numbers as long as I get to keep making what I want to make.
And you make good stuff. So let's talk about that for a minute. Actually,
Okay.
you know, we can come back to the nonsense. I'm sure we will. Yeah. So I just finally read the Doom That Came to Gotham. It's on my long list of stuff to read, but I jumped it right up to the top whenever I knew I was going to have you on, and it was very good. You know, with Mike Mignola on that. How closely did you guys work together on that?
Well, there's a bit of a backstory to that. I was supposed to write and draw a Hellboy one-shot or 4 issues miniseries. I can't remember. It was called Hellboy Red Menace. And it was my riff on, you remember The Blob with Steve McQueen? Did you ever see that?
I mean, I know of the movie. I've never seen it, but I know of it.
Okay. Well, it's one of those cheesy science fiction movies from like the 60s. And I had an idea of mingling Hellboy when he was younger, still living on a military base that was serving as the BPRD base at the time of the House of Un-American Activities. So with BPRD doing so many international investigations in like in Russian areas, Chinese areas, all these remote areas, a delegation from HUAC comes down to see if there's any commies in the BPRD. And they come just as an expedition from Tunguska returns, and all the BPRD agents who came back from that expedition have been taken over by an alien hive mind. And so the first people to get interviewed are these guys, and they infect all the HUAC investigators. So everyone who goes in to investigate gets part of this big red blob mind until it hits critical mass, and then Hellboy tries to save a girl from it. On the military base. So it was just like a big, and the big gag was the cover was going to be just an extreme close-up of Hellboy's face and said Hellboy Red Menace. And it was just a gag, right?
Yeah.
But then Mike had decided he had said yes to way too many Hellboy spinoffs all at once because everyone wanted to do something with Hellboy.
Sure. Yeah.
And the way he said it, Mike Richardson took him aside and said, you know, it's your book, but right now, over half the things coming out in the next 2 years are by other people. And that's going to make people think it's our book. And Mike went, you know, you're right. And so he canceled everything, including my thing. And I was going to pitch Doom on my own to DC. I didn't think it was going to have a good shot at landing just with me. I faxed the idea over to Mike. He said he loved it. He immediately sent it to Archie Goodwin, and we got an immediate go-ahead. And the idea being co-writing, and I was going to draw it. And I started drawing it. I think I was around 20 pages in, and Archie passed away. And then it took we had an editor came in for about 3 months, but he left. And that was like another 3 months or so. And then Mike Carlin came over, who I don't like. I liked fine enough at the beginning of it, but I didn't like him by the end of it. And I backed off from drawing.
Okay.
It. And Troy Nixie came on, he should be like such a bigger name than he is. He hits that weird so perfectly. And he came in and he drew it much better than I could have at the time. So, so that was my experience on Batman. And then they made a movie out of it. So that was pretty cool.
Well, yeah. I didn't get a chance to watch that. I bought it, but I haven't watched it yet. I mean, it's a cool book.
In many ways, it's better than the book.
Huh. It is a fire Batman. It really is. So one thing I definitely noticed in like looking over your work is you've got kind of an array of techniques. It seems like. I mean, I'm not an artist really, so if that's not the appropriate word, then I apologize. But like, you got like a pretty wide range of skills. It seems like.
Go ahead.
Oh, is that something that you just kind of developed intentionally over time, or like did you kind of set out like to, how did that work out?
Well, a big part of it was I had just started inking myself in comics before I got convinced to leave comics for a while. That was the industry was contracting. My then wife was very, very, very stressed. And she was worried that I'd keep struggling in comics and not get any further ahead because Marvel was Marvel was circling the drain at that point, and
So we're talking the 90s, huh?
Yeah, late 90s. And work was just getting harder and harder to come by because every big name at Marvel was working at DC. Image hadn't really recovered from its implosion from really not. I mean, when Marvel crashed, Image crashed, everyone crashed. So there just wasn't a lot of money in comics. And I was really just starting to figure out what the hell I was doing at that point. And it wasn't enough of a career for me to actually be able to land gigs easily. I had to fight for them. And it was a lot of piecemeal work. So my then wife convinced me to do something else. So I ended up doing illustration, production design for video games, movies, TV, all that stuff. And going there forced me to work in a whole bunch of different media. And that was a great experience. And then I landed into teaching for about 8-9 years. And going back to teaching, going over the fundamentals, playing with different media, kind of reconnected me with the sense of being an artist as opposed to just being a comic artist.
Sure.
And so it's important to me to experiment with new media, try different approaches to the work, experiment with just because you can do one thing well one way, can you do it something completely different way? So that's what drives me in the visual end of things. So I don't know. I think everything's drawn the same, but it might be finished differently.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, the definitely the book that stands out to me is Second Coming, and that one seems like a kind of like a there's definitely a story behind that, and I would like to hear that story if possible.
All right. All right.
So it was. Oh, sorry. So it was canceled by DC, correct?
So the story starts initially with Mark and Dan DiDio talking about what Mark could do at DC Maine. Because there was a Huckleberry Hound. I think it was Huckleberry Hound and the Flintstones. He was building a following. And Dan DiDio was a big fan of his non-comics work. And so Mark had written a short play about a therapy session for superheroes. And that had Sunstar, and I believe it had Jesus. I never seen the play, but apparently this was his pre-work for Second Coming. And he bounced it off of Dan. He says, well, we can't have Jesus Christ and Superman be roommates, but we could do a Superman with the serial numbers filed off over at Vertigo. And so that's where it started. I was just finishing my run of covers for Imaginary Fiends, and my editor, Molly Mahan, who's great, asked me, she wanted me for something on a Sandman relaunch. And that ultimately didn't work out. But then she turned around and she asked me, would you like to work on the new version of Preacher? Now, anyone who's read Second Coming knows full well it's not the new generation of Preacher. It's nowhere near that. Preacher it's irreverent down to the ink they used on the paper.
Yeah.
But I would be a fool to say no to that. So I jumped on board, and it was also and the weird thing is I was iffy on the Sandman stuff. And I don't know how serious she was about being able to get me on Sandman stuff, but none of the writers that were being mentioned really appealed to me. I wasn't sure. Honestly, it got leveled a little. I was hearing about the Sandman relaunch. I didn't think it was going to land well. And at the same time, apparently I had a green light for a Conan Tarzan miniseries, but no one at Dark Horse told me or the writer that Dark Horse had already lost the license to Conan, so it wouldn't happen. They just let us hang there, thinking it was going to start soon. So all of a sudden it's okay, well, this Conan thing's not happening, and suddenly Second Coming's happening. I went, all right, cool. I got work for 6 months. Because at that time Vertigo would launch the first series of miniseries, and only one would ever land. So I thought, okay, well, this is what it's going to be. Then the news of it broke in the Slows Newsday. I think it was Breitbart did a story about it. How dare DC Comics do Superman and Jesus Christ in the comic book? I don't even
know
it's
like they don't know the tone of it or anything.
Jesus Christ. And they started a petition. And the notifications from the petition somehow went directly to Jim Lee and Dan DiDio, amongst other people. Some of these right-wing whack jobs, found out the contact information. And I think they also got the contact information for the woman who was in charge of DC Comics at the time, who had previously had to endure the hate over Batman's penis from that comic book that had Batman's penis in it.
Batman Damned, yeah.
Damned? Was it Damned?
Mm-hmm.
I think so, yeah.
That was
so, no one at DC wanted the headache, but Dan DiDio was absolutely convinced that this book had to get out there. So instead of just canceling and throwing everything we did in the drawer, Dan DiDio made a gift of the book back to us. And then it was basically every publisher out there wanted it, except for Image, because they had a Jesus book coming up already.
Right, yeah.
And Mark mentioned AHOY, and I had not heard of AHOY. I hadn't heard of them at all. Then he listed off it was Stuart Moore, Tom Peyer, and I was like, oh my God, those are the guys you were trying to get me in at Vertigo back in the day when I most wanted to be a Vertigo artist more than anything else. So I said, sure, let's go to AHOY, and they have been a dream to work with ever since.
I mean, yeah, this is definitely the first I'd heard of them as well. Whenever I read it a few years ago, and then I've also picked up just an issue of something here or there. Like most recently, I actually talked about it on stream. Was it Acid Chimp and Business Dog? Which, like it just seems like it wouldn't be something that I would really be interested in, but for whatever reason, I enjoyed the hell out of it. It's just pure fun, and it seems like they're just letting creators do, what they want to do.
There's an aspect to AHOY which it's really sticky. Every person who I give some AHOY comics to, like Edgar Allan Poe, Snifter of Horror, or Project Cryptids to, they start buying the books. There's a level of quality consistent through all the AHOY books, and they all have this wonderful, irreverent, satirical tone. And they're always enjoyable. Whereas like back in the day when Vertigo was hot, you go, okay, this sounds good. You pick up a book, you kind of go, oh, it's not landing. It feels to me that every AHOY book lands. Even if it's not your cup of tea, you can still feel it landing. You're going to laugh. You're going to laugh because there's going to be a joke in there that's just going to get you. And I really think that comes down to the publisher and Stuart and Tom and the new editors they brought on board. Really, really committing to the work. And honestly, I hate to say this, there's no one else really competing for that type of space. What other publisher out there is really, really hitting that satirical level of comics, regardless of genre?
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, it's not typically, that's not the sort of vibe I go for with comics, but they do it well for sure.
And I think I fit in there despite there's one aspect I learned I dragged Leonard Kirk in, who does superheroes almost better than anyone these days. He has that wonderful clean work. So I brought him in almost immediately when we went to AHOY, and he essentially re-inked some sequences that I felt that should have been more in his style. So the idea was Leonard inked all the pages that were set on Earth, and I was doing all the stuff in heaven and in biblical past. And then it just became easier because it was a scheduling. Like if there's like one panel from Earth here and one panel from the Bible here, it became really much of a nightmare. So it turned into me just doing covers and layouts. But they were immediately got the idea of having Leonard coming on and adding a different visual touch to it. And I really think it's like I'm more of a. I'm going to steal an anecdote from Sam Keith. If you remember, Sam Keith was one of the original artists on The Sandman at Vertigo.
Mm-hmm.
And there was Neil Gaiman, Mike Dringenberg, Dave McKean on covers, and Sam Keith, who was this heavily Frazetta-infused cartoony guy. And he really, really felt like he was Jimi Hendrix trying to jam with the Beatles. And when it comes right down to it, I'm an old school Vertigo artist. Give me horror every day of the week. Give me something weird, sexy, and horror, and I'm good. And that's really not what Second Coming is.
For example,
I mean, I think
you sent me a couple of things in that this popped up whenever you said that.
Conan, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's Conan, but it's like it's got a kind of horror vibe to it, right?
Yeah.
The sensibilities there for sure.
It's Jim pretty much cooked up that story for me, so it's got a lot of dark, shadowy horror type stuff running all the way through it. That's going to be in Savage Sword 2, which I think is out in a few weeks.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Let's see, there's this one. This one's cool. Is this also Conan?
Yeah, that's the same issue. In fact, I think that's the page just before the one you showed.
So it seems like there's probably some Bill Sienkiewicz inspiration in here, right?
Oh, big time. Bill is. I think we're kind of whenever we're together, we're like friends, but we don't talk that often. But that's pretty common in comics. But he was a massive influence. When I first got into comics, my idea of good comics were John Byrne, Walt Simonson, Neil Adams,
Wrightson.
Wrightson too. Yeah, I was trying to get them all. I wasn't a Kirby guy. I didn't really know a lot about Toth in the early days. I never really got into Ditko, but that was my understanding of comics. And then the first thing, a friend of mine handed me some Moon Knights, and I was like, "What the hell?" He says, "This is the guy who's drawing New Mutants." I went, "What the hell?" So I'm buying New Mutants, and it's like Bill Sienkiewicz just opened my head and just poured all these influences into it. And I think I'm in high school at this point, and before I went to art school. So my entire head got completely turned around. I started buying all these indie comics. I started getting even more interested in straight up classic illustrators, Baron Story. And I could just run off a bunch of names that don't mean anything to anyone. But there's a whole bunch of classical illustrators that just. But yeah, Bill Sienkiewicz is a
couple of people I imagine would look them up if they hadn't heard of them because we got some big artists, aspiring artists in chat for sure.
Yeah, there's I think Brad Holland was a big influence. Marshall Arisman, the way he just distorted like this weird kind of almost Francis Bacon approach to color and figurative work. No, I'm not going to go through my books. We'll end up going down a rabbit hole of all the ones I like. I got like a whole bunch of books in here I could just show off. I'm a book nut. Pretty much at the start of every one of my Sunday night streams, I spend about 20 minutes going over the books I think people should know about. So I'm a bit of a art book nut.
Let's see. So Lucifer Writing asks, is it something you ever grow out of as an artist where you only think that the most recent thing you've done is the best thing you've done?
I think a lot of it depends on how much work you're producing, how consistently you're producing it. But I think there's very, very recognizable stages as you go through this. When you're never satisfied with your work, that's when you're getting ready to level up. When you actually see something new in your work, it's usually months after you've achieved it. Because when you're in the middle of it, when you're in the process of breaking down a piece, especially in comics where it's so many different skill sets all being combined, like it's storytelling and composition and drawing and rendering and interacting, prepping for like the other participants in the team sport of creating a comic book. You probably can't see where you're improving or falling short. I think it's important. Every like 6 months or so, I open up Photoshop, I go through some old files, and I look for and this is something I started doing back when I was doing production work back in the early 2000s. I started making notes of things I should lean into.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that perhaps that's me, but I found that making myself aware of progress, shortcomings, areas I should focus on, things I'm doing well, I should try and lean into further. That helped me a lot. I found that was, apart from art school itself, that was my fastest period of growth. I don't think many artists are actually happy with their work when they just finish it, other than they're happy that they finished it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Yes,
being a work artist.
So, yeah, I mean, it's like every once in a while I'll do a piece and I'll go, oh, wow, that turned out really, like I did this Delirium piece a couple weeks back. And just because I wanted to draw the Endless characters again, pure fan art. I think I might have sent it to you, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was drawing it, and it started as a straight up I just finished drawing a Desire, and I decided to do a mirror image of Desire, like leading feminine, leading masculine, because Desire is all over the gender spectrum. And I said, well, Delirium's more all over the map, so I'll draw like 6 different versions of it. And I realized 6 wasn't enough. So I drew a whole bunch of tiny little like 1-inch square portraits and glued them on top of the piece.
Yeah.
So that was, and I finished that and I kind of went, oh shit, that really turned out okay.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah. Yeah, it's just it blows me away, honestly. It's I wish you knew how to talk about art better, man. I really do too. I'm more of a writer, so like, but I mean, you've done some writing too, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I co-wrote Doom That Came to Gotham. There was a while for I think about 6 to 8 issues. I wrote Pit for Dale Keown.
Oh yeah,
that was an experience. I felt like my job was basically to give him excuses to draw crazier shit. Because otherwise he just would have drawn nothing but fight sequences. So that was fun. There was a bunch of other stuff. Kind of.
Sorry, I said he's not doing so great lately. From what I've seen.
You know what? I'm gonna start telling a story, and it's gonna lead into the history. Well, I just hope he doesn't run out of piss jars.
Oh my god. Yeah. Man, that's a whole trip. You seen that legendary first live stream of his, right?
I think it's off the net now, but it was like I had people calling me because they thought I was still friends with Dale. I couldn't be friends with. It's like it was amazing. It's like Dale's a weirdo. I mean, most people in comics are social idiots. Dale is. I tried to be a good friend to him as long as possible. Ethan was the ultimate fanboy to Dale. I mean, he was like constantly trying to get Dale to do work on Cyberfrog and shit. And Dale had no interest whatsoever. And because of that, I kept Dale appraised of what was going on with Comicsgate. And it really shows how little attention Dale pays to anything outside of his immediate life, that he didn't remember any of that shit. We had the same art rep for a long time too. And then when word broke that Dale was working with Ethan, I was like, I reached out to Dale. I go, what the fuck are you doing? You're going to shit your career down the toilet. Right? I mean, no one at Marvel's going to want to work with you. No one at DC is going to want to work with you.
Right.
Right? There's going to be people who are going to be oblivious to the comics and stuff like Top Cow, and they won't realize that they're, poking a hornet's nest if they bring you back. And Dale never responded to that. However, I get an email from Ethan Van Sciver saying he was going to sue me.
Yeah, they love to, and they're the threat of litigation is very, very common over there. And I know it's actually happened a couple of times in very specific examples, but yeah, it's kind of wild. So yeah, you said that Ethan referred to you as his Yoda at one point. Is that right?
Well, let's do this. Okay, so my writing career in comics has always been kind of weird. I get an opportunity to write something and the book will get canceled. In this case, I was writing and drawing a Vampirilla 4-issue miniseries, and the editor-in-chief of Harris Comics, who had the license for Vampirilla at the time, was Melanie Crawford Chadwick, who was an amazing person, great, smart, on the ball. But she was working at Harris Publications, which is like I think they made most of their money off of gun and car magazines. So it was very much a dude bro environment, right? And so she's doing Harris Comics, and as I understand it, they're doing really well. And she really liked the fact that I was going to do this weird kind of time travel nut bar Vampirilla story. So I'm there, and it turns out she's dating Ethan Van Sciver, who's doing this property called Cyberfrog.
Oh boy!
And she goes, and we meet him, and Ethan seemed a nice enough kid. And she goes, I don't think I ever told him this. So we're having a phone call. This is before she got fired from Harris. She goes, he doesn't listen to me. He doesn't listen to anyone else at Harris. But it seems like he actually takes you seriously. Can you take him under your wing and like get his head screwed on right about comics? So she kind of pushed me into being friends with her boyfriend. And Ethan was, I don't think dumb's a good word. He was willfully ignorant about many things.
That seems accurate. Yeah.
And for one example, he did not understand a handling edge on an art board. Now, have you handled original art, comics art?
No.
Or seen original art pages?
Don't think so.
Okay. Well, if you ever get to see, here's a Hellboy piece. If I didn't have the eye infection, I would have finished already. So here's a Hellboy commission I'm working on. See this white space here on the outside edge?
Yeah.
Yeah. So on a professional comics page, that's your handling edge, right? So if anything happens to the edge of the board, the artwork itself is not damaged. Ethan was convinced that he had to draw right to the edge of the paper. He literally, he'd be given an 11 by 17 sheet of artboard, and he'd draw completely over the entirety of the page. There'd be no handling edge. And he didn't really understand what the crop marks and bleed and trim and all that stuff meant. So I tried explaining it to him, and mid-conversation, I realized he'd stopped listening. And I'm thinking there, I pause, and I go, does this make any sense to you? He goes, you know what? I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing and let the production guys sort it out. And as I understand it, if I remember what he said correctly, DC didn't put up with that shit. So when he got his first DC job, they said, this is what you do or you're fired. Yeah. So that's basically, Ethan would be willing to learn if his money depended on it.
So it just seems like, working in a professional environment generally was not his strong suit.
Yeah. I mean, oh my God. It was like, it was hard to be friends with him. And for a long time, I put up with it. Again, at that point, he was a nice enough kid. Politics almost never came up. Although he said at one point, he followed Melanie out to the West Coast when she went to work for Dark Horse. And I almost unfriended him, like almost immediately. If he wasn't dating Melanie, I would have done it. He was talking about Bob Schreck and Bob Schreck's new boyfriend, who's now his husband, since his husband, right? Mm-hmm. And he described watching Bob Schreck and his saggy little boyfriend walking down a pathway away from him. And that just hit my head. And I went, what? Right? And in my mind, I'm going, is he trying to be funny, or is this how he thinks? And I think we do this way too often, where we apologize for our friend's transgression until they come out and reveal themselves to be utter complete pieces of shit.
Yeah.
And Ethan was on that path. I mean, when he married a Mormon woman after Melanie broke up with him, And then I had a really, heart to heart with Melanie where she said, stay in touch with Ethan. I think he needs it, but I need to back away from comics for a while because it hurt me too much. Because she kind of got taken advantage of at Dark Horse too. Then Ethan had this partner named Sheriff, and it was weird. Ethan kept, reaching out to me constantly, and I give him advice and I tell him stories I know and everything. And that's the point at which he was referring to me as his Yoda. And that was his referring to Seven, because that's what Brad Pitt called Morgan Freeman. And it was kind of weird. Because at the same time, Ethan would tell me the saddest, most horrifying stories about people like Dan Fraga, and he'd laugh about it. Like, I'm not going to share the stories because in hindsight, I don't know if Ethan was making shit up or not. But I mean, they're literally horrifying, bleeding cool headline stories. And he would be chuckling about the story. Not like, oh my God, you believe that, Fraga had to go through this. It was, oh my God, this is what happened. This is what Fraga told me happened to him in Extreme Studios. Shit like that. And I'm like listening to that. And it's like, he's thinking, oh, we're going to share all these horrible stories. I'm in the back of my head saying, I'm not telling him anything sensitive ever again.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Jesus.
I mean, yeah. Okay. And it's like, and this went on for a while. And it was like, at a certain point, it became just kind of a real, like he'd keep staying in touch. We talk about what we're working on. And I had industry friends who could not stand him and didn't understand why I was friends. Mike Russel hated his fucking guts. But Mike couldn't not be nice to people. So I'm pretty sure Ethan never knew Ringo hated his guts. Mignola hated his guts. Almost all these people who ever had to deal with Ethan at a con hated his fucking guts because Ethan always made everything about himself.
Well, he was aware. Was aware at least that when he was working on New X-Men, he was aware that Grant Morrison hated his guts. So,
I mean, it's not like he didn't earn it. I mean, he did that whole like sex thing everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, real childish shit. I think the thing that drove Mike Mignola nuts was when he brought an electric organ to Artist's Alley. It was pretty, and so at this point I'm keeping Ethan's like talking about wanting to get me back into comics, wanting me to write like this. He wanted me to write his Plastic Man series for the longest time. He wanted me to write like a spin-off Green Lantern thing for the longest time. Nothing ever happened with it. I do all this work and then nothing would happen with it. Then one time he convinced me to go down to C2E2 and he'd introduce me to people. And of course he wouldn't. He just dragged me down there. I don't know why he did. But one time I'm sitting next to him. And this is at a point when Image and Marvel are trying to get him and a bunch of other artists to leave DC to there to do it like Image version 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting next to Ethan and Eric Larson and Robert Kirkman come over. They just want to touch base with Ethan, see if they can push that deal a little bit further. So I'm just sitting there next to Ethan. Ethan's not introducing me. He's not saying anything. And Eric recognizes me because we'd met a bunch of times. I'd never met Robert before, right? And Robert keeps like looking at me. I'm sitting there, right? I'm just looking, listening. And then all of a sudden it's clear that Ethan kind of clues in that Robert's looking at me. He goes, oh, hey, this is my friend Richard Pace. And Ethan was immediately going to start talking about himself again. Then Robert Kirkman's face explodes in joy. He goes, Richard Pace, you wrote Pat. And suddenly 10 minutes of the conversation's about me, which I wasn't prepared for. But at one point, I look over at Ethan, and there's this combination of horror and anger on his face that I don't think he even knew he was expressing. And I went, oh my God, he's angry that we're not talking about him.
Jesus Christ, man.
And at that point, I realized I'm done. I'll be polite. I'll let him reach out. He asks for something, I'll probably do it because I'm just that kind of guy. I'm inordinately loyal until you burn that bridge. But at that point, I realized I'm not interested in being part of the Ethan show. Right? I'm a person too. right? But
yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't blame you, man. It does seem like, just as from an outsider perspective, that you have to play the part that he wants you to play, or you're not in the show.
And he's not
it's definitely
talented enough to take that role. He just isn't. I mean, you can slave away, render the fuck out of everything all the time, but if you can't fucking draw, people are going to see through it. I mean, you can have that big stack of Brian Bolland comics next to you and go, well, how did he draw this? You're not going to learn how to draw by copying Brian Bolland, because most of Bolland's stuff is surface. I mean, Bolland could really, really draw. But when his comic work is deadline driven, so there'll be a time when you'll get away with drawing like a really shitty piece of anatomy, and then someone who only knows how to copy Bolland will copy it, and they'll copy the mistake and think it's right. So Ethan never learned how to draw; he learned how to replicate the comic artists he liked. And that's why, go ahead.
In hindsight, I can see that now. Like I said, I was a big fan, man. But like, with a more critical eye, I look at this image that 15 years ago, 10 years ago, I would have thought was amazing. And now I start to see.
He understood cool. He understood cool. And maybe he still does. I mean, I remember one point I was doing a drawing of the Joker, and it wasn't working for me. And I showed him, what do you think? He goes, you know what you got to do? You got to make one pupil bigger than the other. You got to have that visual inclination that there's madness going on. And he was absolutely right. I found out later he ripped it off from someone else, but he was absolutely right. And you have to give him that. He's in very many same ways as Rob Liefeld. Rob Liefeld couldn't draw his way out of the paper bag, but Rob Liefeld understands cool. And if you understand cool, and you're in a superficial medium like comic books, especially superhero comic books, which depth is almost an accident, you're going to go a long way. So Ethan understands how to make a cool image.
Yeah, he definitely does have that sensibility.
It won't be well drawn.
Hey, Richard, real quick, man.
Yeah,
sorry, man. Like,
by the colorist.
You keep kind of like glitching out a little bit. I don't know if there's anything if you can like restart the window or something like that. But like I'm worried people aren't getting the full story. So like yeah, it's like I don't know. If
okay. So you want me to close and reopen?
Yeah, if you don't mind. If you still have the link, then
you want me to close and reopen? Okay.
Yes,
sure.
please.
Yeah, I think I did. All right. I'll close it. I'll be right back.
Cool. Thank you. Just trying to find this Cyber Frog image that I'd have somebody shared. I'm like, oh my God, because it's just so much going on for an image that really isn't, let's see how we're doing now. All right.
Hello.
Hey, definitely the audio sounds a little better so far. So
okay.
Cool. Yeah, it's
I know we're having some pretty dodgy weather, so that might be affecting.
Very well could be that.
Yeah.
So Ethan did this cover for Andrew Tate's comic book recently. I don't know if you knew about that. You know who Andrew Tate is? You heard of that guy?
Andrew. That's the MMI sex trafficker.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Well, he did a grifty comic book. He decided, and he got Ethan to do a cover for him, and it's like, I mean, you can tell that he wasn't putting his all into it. But let's see. Yeah, this is something else.
Is that supposed to be Andrew Tate?
I think that's supposed to be his
face there.
Yeah,
that doesn't look anything
brother?
like Andrew Tate. Oh, maybe his brother. Okay.
I mean, there's just so much going on here, man. That like I don't know what to where like this guy looks like he doesn't belong anywhere on this cover. I think there's some kind of racism happening with this guy in the back. I'm not sure. It's a whole thing. Yeah, bad composition. I would agree with that.
Wow.
But I mean, just what's funny is that like,
Ethan.
Sorry, go ahead.
Ethan doesn't know what he's doing outside of comic books. I remember a friend of mine gave me, I don't know why he thought I'd want it, but he gave me the Jordan Peterson book. And he goes, "You're friends with Ethan. Here, try this out." Right? And I'm looking at these illustrations. Ethan doesn't know how to illustrate. I mean, he has a low functioning understanding of what illustration is. Basically, draw a picture. Illustration is far more than that. There's composition. There's narrative aspects. It's not just drawing something. Now, that might be what the publisher came to him with, but they're terrible illustrations for a terrible book. I mean, because I had the book in my hand, I started reading it. I think I mentioned this before. My ex-wife was a trained clinical psychologist. So I'm reading this self-help book that's full of bullshit. And I do a lot of science reading on my own, and Jordan Peterson doesn't know what he's talking about.
Right.
And then I saw some Jordan Peterson videos. Now, I had seen them previously where he talked about the Pareto principle. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I have not. No.
Bad businessmen believe in the Pareto principle, where your top 10% give you 90% of your profit. And people say this as if it's like proven fact when it's not. And Pareto, if I remember correctly, because I know the Pareto principle because I encountered it in one of those additional classes you have to take in college. And I did doing a reading on it. And so the Pareto principle was based on the idea that he was growing sweet peas in his garden, and he felt that 10% of his plants were giving him 90% of the yield. And so that was what his theorem was based on. Without testing anything else, he just presented it as law. And it's been disproven hundreds of times. And then you got Jordan Peterson, who is the alt-right's imitation of an intelligent person.
Right.
Claiming the Pareto principle actually applies. And it doesn't. And I'm going, how is this guy a celebrity? All right, most people are stupid. And when most people are stupid, someone who's just slightly less than stupid can appear to be a genius. And
maybe that's me.
So I think people like Andrew Tate, Jordan Peterson, Ethan Van Sciver deserve each other.
It might be me that's having problems with my connection here, man. Because I just kind of glitched out for a second. Let me shut down a couple of things.
Yeah, you have paused a few times.
Well, shit. Gotta get rid of this for a while.
Yeah.
And there we are back. I think. Yeah. All right. Yeah, so okay, yep, that did it. I've got myself a little bit more signal now. Cool. So I wanted to see if you I mean, I know that like you probably were not, you definitely weren't friends with Ethan at this point or whatever, but like he went on Tim Pool not too long ago, and I was curious if you had any insight onto how truthful this little quick anecdote is that he told Tim Pool and his millions of subscribers.
I am a comic book artist. I work for Marvel and DC. I've drawn Green Lantern and Flash mostly, some X-Men stuff in my time. I was viciously canceled for voting for Trump in 2017. Everybody kind of knew that I was a Republican. But when I voted for Trump and Trump won and then I celebrated, that was a bridge too far. The mechanism of cancel culture. I did celebrate. I took a nice picture of myself in a MAGA hat, posted on Twitter. People were outraged by that. I didn't understand.
So viciously canceled just for voting for Trump. That's it.
Yeah, that didn't happen. What happened was he just gave people who don't like Trump a reason not to like him. That didn't cost him a job. That didn't cost him one job. Canceling means your career's over. Being pro-Trump didn't cost him one gig. Being a piece of shit and an asshole and starting projects and leaving the other creatives hanging, that undermined his career. Yeah. Continually getting into online fights where he was clearly and obviously the bad guy made corporate DC question whether or not he was worth having around. Dan DiDio defended him. Dan DiDio was a pretty loyal guy. Defended him when no one else wanted him. And this is hard because I was hearing stories past the point I was willing to associate with Ethan at any level. I was hearing stories that they were having meetings about him every time he did something stupid online. There were a significant number of editors who had worked with him who never wanted to work with him again. So they didn't want him to be in the talent pool. Dan DiDio kept bringing him up when he was available. I mean, considering it took him forever to draw anything, those were infrequent events. But Dan DiDio would keep trying to get him gigs. And there's a lot of writers, and DC's always been writer first, who did not want to work with Ethan because his storytelling is poor. You never know when the book's going to get done. And there's going to be a contingent of people who increasingly don't like anything Ethan's on. So he rejects some of fandom just by being on a project. Is that cancellation? I don't know. I wouldn't buy Hitler comics. I mean, he was an artist. Maybe, I mean, you can appreciate the work, but why would I support someone who does something so repugnant so often?
Yeah, and that's, I've got some of the examples
He wasn't canceled.
Collected over time. Like the memes with like
warned.
Somebody hanging themselves and he's telling people to kill themselves and stuff like that on Facebook. And, you have to, I don't understand how you do that, something like that repeatedly, and then just expect that a company that's, a corporation, that they need to keep somewhat of a, I mean, the fact that they gave him plenty of chances is kind of, impressive in the first place. But at some point, yeah, you got to realize
he was warned multiple times.
No, Ethan is not
and
Hitler.
If you're warned multiple times and you keep doing the shit that they keep telling you to stop doing, yeah.
So it looks like we got
that was just for
like
if you don't bring up Hitler, you're not having a conversation.
I was trying to find this clip that I just came across not too long ago. It kind of blew my mind. I have it here somewhere, where it's prior to his quote unquote cancellation, and he's in his car and he's recording a video talking about how, he basically is saying the opposite of everything that he says now. Right. So like he says, you can be a Republican and out Republican and work at DC or work in comics. You can, there's no, people aren't getting fired for it or whatever. And it's just kind of astonishing because, I've always known that he's lying, but just, I didn't realize there was such just a short video with him literally saying the opposite of everything that he claims now. But it's there. I'll find it eventually. And then shit like that he's done.
I mean, the left Ethan on screen.
Yeah, sure.
Well, it's a victim culture. They have to. Weirdly enough, they have to present the left as antagonistic to justify their support. I mean, there's I can think of, I don't want to name them because I don't want to make it about them, but I can think of at least 5 hard right artists and writers who are still working in Marvel and DC. No one cares. I mean, as long as you're not spewing homophobic shit in Marvel's offices, you're going to keep working there. I mean, that's why Chuck Dixon was gone.
Yeah,
people got sick and tired of his just slagging on everything.
Is that right?
The reason why Rob Liefeld has a hard time getting work these days, because he shits on all the other creators.
Honestly, if Rob Liefeld wasn't,
when
rich,
he didn't
like
get
I imagine he was a comic.
Okay, so the way the story goes, and I was told by someone at Marvel, so I can assume it's more true than not. Liefeld put in his bid to do the X-Men relaunch that Hickman got to do. And that's the real reason Liefeld did so much public hissy fits over Hickman's X-Men.
Wow.
And it's like, you can't do that and expect other professionals to treat you with any respect.
Well, yeah. I'm a big Hickman fan, so just to even compare those two and think that he would think he has any right to do something over Hickman, I don't know, it blows my mind.
Yeah.
It's see. Making sure. Do I have any? Yeah, I got a mod in chat, right?
The weird thing though is I really love.
Just making sure that we got somebody that's going to mod.
I really like Hickman's first arc. Oh,
sorry.
Yeah. So I really liked Hickman's 12 issues, but it really felt like an X-Men Elseworlds. He that whole every X-Men can die and come back infinitely was almost like a joke in how frequently X-Men were dying and coming back anyway.
That's what I love about it.
As soon as you actually hardwire that into the story, you're hamstringing.
I mean, I disagree because like it that's what it seems like at first, but like once you get into the stories and then it starts going on and that era, I understand what you mean by the vibe being weird, like it's an Elseworlds thing, because it was pretty jarring at first. But like when you have a mechanism in place that makes it so that you can come back from the dead or whatever, and there's rules to it now, so it's not just arbitrary like it was before. You know what I mean? So there's like. There are ways that it can mess up. The process can mess up and you come back not right. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. And I feel like it created some story opportunities as well as kind of oddly put death in a containment where death in comics has not really been a thing since Superman died. You know what I mean? Like it's not been a thing that had a lot of weight.
It did a little bit. It made it a little bit like a video game where there's a reset button. It's like you go back to your spawn point.
Well, that was the whole era though, because they made, the main thing he did was Moira McTaggart as a mutant who could, resurrect, and it like created this whole save point video game type of dynamic. But yeah.
So yeah, it's I really love that first arc. I almost feel it would have been better if they gave him another 12 issues and just said, okay, this is going to be a standalone X-Men book to stand like just on its own. I would like a project like that. You know what we're going to do? We're going to do 2 years of X-Men, and it's going to be its own continuity, and it's going to be awesome. And then we're going to go back to the old thing when we're done.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you've heard
kind of what they're doing anyway.
I'm sure you've heard me talk about it before. Like, it's honestly, this last 5 years of X-Men comics has been some of my favorite superhero comics I've ever read. Just like, almost nothing truly bad or anything like that. There's a few, issues here and there. They're like, that's kind of weak, but I don't know. Everybody that I've read a lot of it, the X-Men era over the last 5 years, and it seems like everybody's working at the top of their game. They got some good creators, and the concepts that Hickman put in place, I think, allowed for some a lot of good storytelling, I think, and characterization and stuff like that. So,
yeah,
but all things have to come to an end, and they're doing this relaunch.
I'm not saying it's bad. Yeah, I'm not saying what Hickman did was bad, but I saw that and I kind of like a little red flag went up, where it's like, ooh, that's going to be hard to deal with.
It's
it's kind of like if someone was writing Batman and you're getting ready to take over, and the last page of their last issue of Batman, they have Batman come out of the closet, and then you got to pick that up. So I was literally thinking, okay, so what he's doing is he's created a hard problem for the writers down the road. So that's what I meant.
I see what you mean. I mean, yeah, but really, like X-Men in particular has had so many kind of like elements that are introduced, that really kind of break everything if you don't do it right. But I'm just was happy to see X-Men being talked about again. I'm happy to see him talked about again with the cartoon being on and stuff. Because I grew up a big X-Men fan, so And I read an interview with you from Bleeding Cool, where you said something. I've said the exact same thing about, like, when superhero books can be good, like when they transcend superhero books, that's when they're great. And I agree with that. And it's like I always hope for. I'm very naive and optimistic when it comes to wanting each superhero book I read to be that, and they very seldom are. But I still have that hope every time. But yeah.
Well, I think the big crux of the problem, and this is where most of the criticisms from CG fall flat. Superheroes at their best when they're a metaphor. And if you're just writing straight up superhero action all the time, you're just not creating good stories. It's melodrama. It's soap operas with fists.
No, I agree.
So
it's
I have
you
my
know,
opinions. Yeah.
And hey, well, I don't know how much you watch, but like that's one of my main things on this channel is I want everybody to, if your opinion isn't, as long as your opinion isn't hostile to me or someone else that I care about or something like that, I want everybody to have diverse opinions. You know, these comic skaters and stuff, they'll show up and be like, oh, you just don't like different opinions or whatever. It's like, that's not it at all, man. I just don't like opinions that involve like throwing, you know, queer people under the bus or you know, excluding certain people's perspectives because it's not the straight white dude's perspective or whatever. You know, comics are for everybody. They should be for everybody. And it's been really cool to see. That's one good thing about the industry lately. Last few years is just there has been more of a tent opened up. But I'd be interested to know like what you know, like recently there was this stuff with Mark Millar. He stuck his nose in everything and stirred up shit. There was that comic shop owner that went viral. Do you feel like that's like writers are the reason that comics industry has problems, that it's the people writing, that they don't respect the material or anything like that?
It's hard to take Mark Millar seriously because he has made the biggest part of his career is making him seem more important than he is. I mean, he's hired PR people who work in newspapers to make him look like a bigger star than he was. And honestly, if you do that well, and he has, it becomes self-fulfilling.
I mean, he's done some stuff that I've enjoyed, but I also think that
so.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, well, it's like that King of Spies book was actually really well done. But he's also done some completely like what the fuck comics, right?
Yep.
I mean, he's the only person who's. I mean, Alan Moore gets a lot of grief for having rapes in his comics, but he never uses them as sensationalism. It's real cathartic action. Mark Millar is the only person who's written rape into his comics where it's almost like he's enjoyed writing that scene. Not that I'm saying he's a rapist, but he's like, ooh, this is going to get people upset. And that automatically makes him kind of secondary importance as a creator. I mean, sensationalism is fine if your career is about sensationalism. And again, it's like the artist who can do cool but can't draw. I'm not saying Mark Millar can't write. I mean, he's proven he can. But I think his North Star is sensationalism.
Yeah.
Like if you look at all the comics he's done, it's basically, well, how can I do a sensationalistic version of this? You know, my sensationalistic version of Batman is he's the ultimate supervillain. My sensationalistic take on Superman is he's autistic. My sensationalistic take on James Bond is there are a bunch of really fucked up British spies. Like I'm blanking on the name of the movie because after the first one, they all went to shit. League of not League.
Oh,
you know, the one with the tuxedo, the suits and all that shit.
Yeah,
but it's great that you can't remember it.
Kingsman, right?
Kingsman, that's it. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the first movie was great. Barely had any of the comic in it, to my mind. I love the Dave Gibbons artwork, but it was night and day. Same with McAvoy movie with they originally drew. He had J.G. Jones draw Eminem as the lead. I'm blanking.
It was Eminem and Halle Berry.
I think here we are. What?
I think it was Eminem and Halle Berry were the models for the original, right? And then
yeah, and I can't remember what the hell it's called. But the thing is, most of that shit's forgettable. When you just do sensationalistic stuff, people remember the sensationalistic bits and they forget everything else. So,
man, I feel like we might have to. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like we might need to call
yeah, you're cutting in and out a lot on my end.
and we're not syncing up, and that's really it's bothersome because I'm trying not to interrupt you, but then I think you're not talking, and then apparently you are. So like, yeah, this sucks. I don't know. I've never had it do like this before on StreamYard. So, yeah, I will say that too, Bob. Red Sun is.
How long have we been doing this?
I'm sorry. What was that?
Yeah, I agree with Red Sun. I mean, it's again, Mark Millar can write, but his focus is on sensationalism.
Sure.
If we're having tech issues, why don't we pick this up again in a month or so?
Okay. Yeah, we can do that for sure. Yeah, definitely love to talk to you some more, man. I feel like you got plenty of things to discuss, and on all sorts of topics. So cool. Well, I appreciate you being on. Would you like to promote anything or your channel? I know you do drawing on Sundays?
Yeah, Sunday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I believe the hard name to remember is Richard Pace. Is the name of my channel. You can find me under that name on Instagram, and I have $1 a month Patreon where I have behind the scenes stuff and other artwork that you don't see online as much. Also, Richard Pace on Patreon. So those are my plugs. I got Savage Sword of Conan coming out, I think, next month. It might be the month after. I did a cover for Conan the Barbarian that's coming out next month. I just had the latest issue of Cryptids from AHOY has a little 10-page story by me in it. And I'm working on the 4th arc of Second Coming.
Awesome. Oh, 4th one. Damn. Yeah, it seems like that one's done really well, right?
Yeah.
Like, people are just really loving that. That's awesome.
Yeah. We're really, I think we're going to be doing... I think we're doing 2 more arcs after this one, so I think it's going to total out at 6.
Wow.
So 6 issue arcs. We just got to find another 6 to put in there to be really satanic. But yeah, Second Coming's it's a great experience. It just keeps going.
He does covers for you, Sylv Stevenson. Is that right?
Yeah. Oh wow. In fact, yeah, she does a couple of books. She does Death Tally, which is her what if a young lady became a Grim Reaper against her will, which is a real fun series. She kicks I think her next issue is kickstarting in a few months. She'll know. And she just finished kickstarting a new edition of her Until Death comic, which is a failing marriage during a zombie apocalypse. Which is
Sylv, if you want to email me, you want to come on and promote anything anytime, just let me know. I'd be happy to have you. But yeah, and I agree with this young man here. He says, Richard, tell your friends to talk to actual fandom, and I think he means your professional friends by that, not just like whatever buddies, but
yeah.
But yeah, man, definitely open to talk to
do.
whoever, as long as you're not Comicsgate. All right. Well, yeah, man. Thank you very much. I really apologize for the connection issues. I'm gonna see what the hell's going on that was even causing that in the first place. It's pretty frustrating, but yeah, glad you'll be able to come back on at some point. And good luck with everything.
I will. All right. You have a great night.
Bye.
All right. Take care. Bye.
All right, guys. I don't know if you're hearing me, how well you're hearing me, or if you are at all. I really am sorry about this. I didn't. I just kind of assumed that it was like bad timing for a lot of it, the conversation, right, where he and I were just kind of like, and then suddenly I realized, wait a second, no, he's actually not hearing me until like several seconds after I finished speaking, and yeah, so that was frustrating, and but yeah, you should subscribe to his channel. Check out his drawing streams on Sundays. And yeah, it's, you know how frustrating it is to, like, you're trying, like, I have a problem with interrupting people. You can ask the guys in the initiative, right? I have a problem with it. And I've worked on it a lot. I've gotten a lot better about it, I think. It's not something I do like intentionally. It's like, it's an ADHD thing, I think. So to have a professional creator on that takes time out of his day to come and, chat with me, I'm really appreciative of that. And then, like, the lag is causing it to where basically I'm interrupting him anyway, even though I'm like not interrupting him actually, you know, and so we're both just kind of like, we don't want to be rude, so we're not trying to talk. Really frustrating, but yeah, screw you, StreamYard. You know, you're kind of fucking me up here, man. Anyway, internet connections can be evil. So somebody sent me something. You know, I didn't want to keep subjecting him to Ethan Van Sciver stuff, but somebody sent me something that is a thing to look at real quick. I didn't really have much of a show at all other than talking to Richard prepared, so won't be on long, but here's the thing, okay? Here is a thing that exists. Apparently, Ethan Van Sciver wears makeup in public appearances, which, look, no shame on, like, just because I'm not saying like, oh, he wears makeup like a woman. That's stupid. No. I don't do it anymore, but when I first started doing YouTube, I would put like a little bit of like, whatever, the skin colored makeup. I would put it like under my eyes because I have like dark rings sometimes and stuff. I don't care anymore what it looks like, but it's not a big deal, but just he's like going through a lot of effort to hide some shit. Like hide his age basically, because this is what he looks like. And look, I'll be fair to him, even though he's not going to be fair to me or anybody else. The lighting in this photo is clearly shitty, and like it's gonna make him look like a burnt piece of bacon. Several years older than he is. Are you sure, man? Because like it is. Look, I have all kinds of stuff going on because I'm old as shit. I'm older than I look. Thankfully, I don't look that old. Yeah, that does. It looks like Organized Chaos went over to his house and lit that photo for him. Because your lighting's gotten a lot better, Bob. You're doing a lot better now. I don't know. It's just it's really not even the makeup. It's the combination of the beard and the makeup, the dye job and the makeup, and the not realizing that, or I guess I don't know if he doesn't know that, man. Like people know that you have blonde hair, so doing this color in your beard is just gonna stand the fuck out. And typically also you have blonde hair, you're gonna have a certain complexion. I know this because I do, and this hair color really doesn't look good with the complexion either. I mean, I think you can do better, Ethan. I believe in you, man. I think you can do better. I think you can also not be a piece of shit. I think you could also just like be honest about the fact that you contributed to the harassment that preceded Ed Pisker's suicide. I think you could admit that. You're not going to, but you could. And I got the proof. I got videos on it. You motherfucker. You motherfucker, Ethan Van Sciver, you. Sorry. Had to play it all cool and be like a classy adult, with Richard Pace. So now I'm going to act like a shithead. He's like 52 or something, I think, like that. 53 maybe. It is. That's literally gender affirming care. Anybody that's not aware of that, that's what it is. Gender affirming care. And I wasn't going to drop this on you, Richard, but like, 49. Okay. Wow. So he's only 8 years older than me. Okay. He's only 8 years older than me. It's I think I'm doing all right comparatively. Evil ages you. Fuck yeah. Well, Morgan, I mean, we were having tech issues, some connectivity problems, and it was making a very good conversation frustrating to have on my end, at least. And I didn't want to keep doing that to Richard. So, but you know, he's willing to come back. He's going to subject himself to it again. Yeah, exactly. Like the only difference between Ethan and like a trans person is that a trans person just, you know, hey, I'm the other gender than what, you know, you might have assumed or what you might have known or what I was assigned to birth. That's it. And to him, he's just got all this hatred and vitriol for that trans person. But yeah, Morgan, you're welcome to come on and chat for a bit if you want to. Shit, Bob, if you want to come on and chat for a little bit if you want to. Yeah. Oh, I wanted to address Ben Bamboo's comment here. So, it's frustrating that you keep bringing this up, man. As if you know, and it's being reductive when you do it. Let me get this Ethan shit off. You know, the reason that the first time that I kicked you from the stream was because you were repeatedly shitting on Kathleen Kennedy, and it wasn't even the topic of conversation. And just because I disagreed with you, I guess you kept on going and kept on repeating shit and saying, it's like at a certain point I have to kind of assume that you know, and I don't believe you are, but at that point I didn't know you. And when a chud shows up in chat, you're not a chud, but when a chud does show up in chat and they start talking about Kathleen Kennedy or somebody like that, you know, there's just certain signifiers to me that tell me this person doesn't, you know, and I had asked you, you know, I did, to please stop. You didn't stop. I don't know what the second time was about. And if you were banned for a second time, why are you here now? I don't know. But I don't feel like that's a, you know, and also just generally, you don't, you know, and I'm not saying you were being confrontational or anything, but I've gotten this from other people where they're like, I wouldn't even say anything wrong. And it's like, well, you don't get to decide that, you know, not you, Ben, but like generally, if I kick someone, if I ban someone, you don't get to get all butthurt because you're like, I wasn't even saying anything bad or against you or whatever. It's like, no, you must have done something that I chose to not have you in my chat anymore because you were either bothering me or you were, you know, saying something that I didn't want my audience subjected to, or to just, you were spamming chat or something like that, some type of behavior that generally I'm just didn't want to deal with. And it's not up to you to decide that I'm wrong for that. Unfortunately, there's, you know, other places you can go, other streams that might let you do that kind of thing. So anyway, am I still live? Do I have people? House rules, man. House rules, baby. I'm glitching, boss. Okay. Shitty business, man. Shitty business that's happening right now. You guys are, dude, holy shit. Holy fucking shit. Fucking, what did they do, man? What did they fucking do to me? No, it's you didn't listen to me, Ben. It can't only be for that. It's literally about the way that you are engaging. That's what I'm saying. We can have 100% of things in common, but if you're communicating in a way that is disruptive or you know, borderline spammy or whatever, then like, yeah, man, sorry. It's there's more reasons than just that. Okay, sending Morgan a link. Well, I mean, if it seemed propaganda-y, then that would be why, probably. I don't remember exactly what it was, but yeah, man, if it seems like someone's just pushing a narrative, a line, and they don't have any kind of like anything to back it up, and they're just, you know, yeah, So, but I mean, well, you know, I'm sorry you don't see the effect that you might have had on me or the chat. I'll say that. But we can drop it now. You can drop it now. That would be ideal, really, because you're here, so you must want to be here. If you want to be here, then you can just accept that things that have happened that way have happened, and we can move on. We can try to do better, communicate better, or we can just stay mired in the past and just like talk about this forever until it fucking pisses me off and I ban you again. It's up to you, man. Up to you.
I met my wife at the butcher shop. She asked me, she had a really nice butt. Holy fuck, man.
The stream is really pissing me off, guys. I'm going to try, once Morgan gets in here, I'm going to try to restart.
She asked me for a price check. She was like 24 and I was 18. She had a really nice butt. Holy fuck, man. She was fucking gorgeous. Her face is not that great, but her fucking lower body was fucking awesome. Her feet were fucking awesome, man.
Holy shit.
She's so fucking hot. Her butt is great. Her face not that great, but you know. Literally calling his wife a butterface on his first live stream, dude. Yeah, look. Hey, it's Morgan. What up, Morgan? Hey. You are not audible. Not audible. I don't know. Maybe you are muted or something.
Hear me now. Am I muted?
Return of the World's Finest. Fuck yeah.
What is
he really wanted to bone that Mandy woman. Yeah, clearly it's. I can hear you now.
Okay, cool. You can hear me now. Sweet.
Yeah, now I can.
Groovy. How's it going?
It'd be going a lot better if Ben wasn't continuing this bullshit, man. Like, it's literally. So if you're talking about Willow, I didn't even watch Willow, Ben. So what you're saying right now is fucking bullshit, dude. And you need to stop, or you know what's going to happen, and it'll be the last fucking time. If I see you coming back after the third time, then I'm just going to fucking, I don't know how you're just not going to be here, man. What you're saying is just coping bullshit, and you're doing it for all to see, and you are pissing me off right now because I didn't watch Willow, the show. Never watched the show. So if you think it's just because of my opinions about something, I'm telling you, man, that's not what the fuck it is. It's the fact that you're engaging exactly like this shit right here. Okay? So chill the fuck out. Final time.
To good cop, Jane's bad cop. Because sometimes I play bad cop. And heck, when you were banned, maybe I bad copped you. Who can say? I don't remember. For me, it was Tuesday. That is in the past. If you have been banned for whatever reason, you have two choices. Chill the fuck out. Move on, grow the fuck up. Things happen, miscommunications happen. Don't assume malice or aggression or whatever when you could just go, well, I probably did something wrong. Benjamin.
Well, because Ben, you're saying what you believed happened after I already explained it to you. And so that means you're basically saying I'm lying. That's what you're doing. Whenever you say, oh, but it had to have been about this thing that wasn't what you just said it was, you're basically calling me a liar, man. And yeah, I do take offense to that because I'm not, and I'm not lying about that, right? Chill, people, let shit go. Yeah, Yeah, it's fine, man. You know, just like I was mistaken if the first time, whenever I kind of thought you might be a chud in disguise, repeating Kathleen Kennedy shit, and when you came back the second time, I was willing to, you know, but the thing you can't do in ongoing relationships of any kind, whether it's friends or partners or streaming chats, you can't just stay focused on, you know, negative moments in the past and expect that you're going to have like a productive, positive relationship going forward. So that's why I'm suggesting and saying, let's just leave it. Thanks, man. And you know, the reason that I'm willing to have that out with Ben right there is just so that people understand generally how I see chat and engagement in it and stuff like that. So anyway, sorry,
Yes,
Morgan. I'm so
no
sorry.
problem. I mean, let's be real. I'm the mean one. I'm the one who does the banning.
True.
Especially on Sunday where I'm like, nah, fucker's just gone. Time for the Shadow Realm.
Wow.
So, X-Men. Fucking X-Men.
How? Okay. I was kind of softened for it a little bit because, spoiler alert for Rise of the Powers of 10 and then also X-Men 97, because there was a death of this character pretty recently in the comics. Though it was in the future, it was still pretty emotional, you know, kind of sudden moment, came out of nowhere. You know, because everything in the future kind of is in this type of story that's happening where it's like, oh God, that's what's going on in the future. Holy shit. But yeah, so spoiler in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
0.
Gambit fucking bit it in a badass heroic way in the comics, like just a couple of weeks ago, basically. And right before he did, he had a really cool exchange with Mystique. She like basically finally gave him a compliment for being her son-in-law. You know,
right. Something she has refused to do this whole time.
Yep. And then, you know, then this shit. Then they do this to us.
They gave it to us.
Gambit's only the final, like, I don't know if is Magneto dead?
I think he's dead. I think when they're like Omega threat no longer detected, I think he is Kaputski.
I feel like there's some kind of trick happening there, honestly. That's what I got from it. Was it
like, I guess I heard someone mention online that like maybe Leech did his thing to Magneto to like hide his powers after the blast stopped.
That had to have been what it is. That has to be. Yes.
Like that would be the only out. And that's a clever, I like that as an out because it's cool that like Magneto saved him and he looks at Magneto as the savior favorite and he got to save Magneto. That's really fucking cool if they do it that way. I would fucking love that. Especially because like I don't think it cheapens anything because that scene is still amazing. That whole episode's amazing. And Gambit still very much appears to be dead unless we're going to do some cable-y things and cable the fuck out of the situation.
Well, because he's definitely not the only one that's dead. There was we saw Sebastian Shaw and Emma Frost.
Yeah.
We saw oh my god, man, I thought they were doing Nightcrawler too.
Oh, like, we barely got Nightcrawler, so I'm like, oh, Kurt, no, not you too. Yeah, if you thought they were going to do Krakoa, they off Banshee and Moira. Oh, they're gone.
No, but they kind of did do the Hellfire Gale a little bit.
They did. Oh, that was definitely a Hellfire Gale thing. So yeah, I like it did like it definitely felt like a nod to Krakoa with the gala and just like how the mutant culture was. Though I'm wondering what the hell Exodus is even doing there and why he's like dancing in the street. I'm like, that's weird, guy. Like, what are you doing?
I didn't notice Exodus. Holy shit.
Yeah, in the dance scene, he is dancing and other mutant phases through him, and I'm like, Exodus? When did you pick up dancing? Is this like a new therapy thing you're doing, my guy? If so, good for you. You could use it.
I mean, yeah. So look, I'll be honest. I'd started seeing things here and there, you know, posts on like video titles and stuff where it's just like you see a few of them and you're like me and you think about these things whether you want to or not.
Right.
I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure Magneto dies based on what I've seen because I didn't watch the episode until today. And I was like, but then I saw something about Gambit too, and I'm like, wait, what? So is it Gambit or Magneto that dies? I'm thinking way too small. I'm like, a character dies, but which one? Which one dies?
One.
And yeah. So then whenever it basically whenever Cable, it's really creepy. It's legitimately well executed. Whenever you hear Cable's voice at first, and he's like, stop the music or whatever, and then you see him, and I'm like, wait, what the fuck? This Cable just running in here, like, get the fuck out. It was like, this has got to be something serious, right? Like,
you've got like Madeline freaking out, Jean freaking out, Emma sort of going like something weird's going on. Like, oh, is this Shadow King? Is this Cassandra Nova? And then you hear in one of their visions, I think it's Madeline's vision, like, stop the music. And she goes outside to like catch her breath and try and like refocus. And Cable runs up and realizes that, hey, that's Mom. And then Mom is like, oh God, you're alive. This is awesome. This is wonderful. You're an old cyborg. Tell me what's going on. Bye.
Yeah.
And then boom.
And then somebody said, he's almost here or something like that. I was like, he, and then it's like, is that the goddamn Wild Sentinel?
That's a goddamn Wild Sentinel.
And now I wonder if it is Cassandra Nova, right? Like, it could be.
But
if they're halfway through the season already, I doubt they would have. I don't know.
Like, I think it would be weird to do a Cassandra Nova story without Charles, but also I guess that's what Cable and Wolverine or Deadpool and Wolverine are doing.
Seems like she's the villain in Deadpool and Wolverine. Yeah.
So I guess I don't know. I've seen people like suggest Bastion as like there's another like Sentinel-y dude who does weird Sentinel-y things.
Mm-hmm.
Who the cartoon show hasn't used before, because I don't know that he was around back then. I don't know when Bastion was introduced, to be honest.
I'm not sure when he was either.
So that's a thought. Like, I don't think it's the UN lady. I think that she seems sort of be caught up in this whole fiasco. Val Cooper, that's her name. It took me a second.
Yep.
Just like waiting for my brain to catch up.
I remember she was the liaison for the X Factor team in
like in the 90s.
The second X Factor team, which is whenever I started reading it, the Havoc and Polaris one.
Right. That's the first X Factor team I was familiar with, and then it was the Multiple Man one was the next one.
Which, let's be honest, that's the best one.
The Krakoa one?
No. Okay, so as far as like as far as concept and just like overall, like,
yeah,
I liked the X Factor Investigations vibe. I also like a lot the team, just the characterization and everything of the Krakoa and X Factors also is probably, makes it, they're right up there.
That's fair. Thanks, Julia.
Am I cutting out, or is it?
Yes.
Shit.
You're cutting out a little bit.
Give me a second. I'll be right back. Hopefully.
Sure.
I'll be right back. Thanks.
Dane is missing. Now I am in charge. Now I am actual fandom. I am now the king of the stream. What will I do with this power? I don't know. Probably get something to drink. I'm eating and I'm thirsty. I know it's rude to eat on stream, but gal's got to work. Gal's got to eat. All right. So what are your thoughts on... I had the WandaVision reference pointed out to me, Dan. I didn't catch it when I was watching it, but I wasn't the biggest WandaVision fan. Welcome back.
Hey. How's it going?
It's good.
How do I sound?
A little better. I'm gonna go grab something to drink quick, so I'll be right.
All right. Mukbang is still a thing. Yeah. What are your opinions on Neil Stevenson? I do not know who that is. Wait, there was a WandaVision reference? Okay, let's be honest. I was not excited about the idea of them continuing the Magneto Rogue romance thing. It just feels weird. You know, I'm not going to say anything about the age gap or anything like that. It just didn't feel right. You know, maybe it's because I'm, you know, my boy was hurting, you know, Remy, but you are muted.
All right, now I'm back. Hi, yeah, they poor.
Yep, you're good.
All right, yeah. So she, yeah, if Magneto's alive and Remy is dead, she is gonna be quite upset.
I mean, she's gonna be upset anyway because Remy's dead.
She's upset already, yeah. Like, but she's gonna be like multiple levels of upset. And poor Rogue, poor everyone.
Yeah, look, I don't know if I cried necessarily, like externally, but you know, yeah, it was a lot, man. They very, very well executed. If you know, just I don't want to say for an animated thing because it just was, period. Well executed, but the fact that it is an animated thing is even more impressive somehow.
Yes, Daniel, there was I think there was a 616 version of that, but I know the big one I'm familiar with is an Age of Apocalypse. They're married.
Yeah, exactly. Lucifer, just, you know, do what they did in Krakoa with Wolverine and Cyclops and Jean. Just like, hey, we're all adults here. You know what I mean? We can.
What if we just, you know?
Yeah. What if we get an apartment on the moon and like there's like a door, like in the middle room will be Jean's room, but then there's doors on either side, and like one side it's Scott, the other side it's Logan, and just like, hey man, we can just kind of come and go, you know, come and go. All right.
Lots of coming.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Gambit, he's really powerful in this show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
Gambit has not seemed this powerful in a while.
I don't know if I've ever seen him that do, you know, stuff like, you know, it's the one thing was in the first episode, there was that mutant circuit that they did, that combo. It's like, that's one thing that's pretty understandable, but he was doing shit in this one. It was like, holy shit, dude. Yeah, I guess in these 5 years since the show ended, and now it's come back, they've really been bulking up their powers.
They don't skip danger room time. That's what Jubilee taught us in the first episode. Do your danger room time.
And that actually reminds me of something that I wanted to show you in particular.
Ooh, showing me things.
So I've been reading through. I just finished not long ago the Hickman X-Men, Krakoan X-Men omnibus. And I was reading through all of the data dump pages and everything.
Oh, nice.
And I found something that I'm sure I read it whenever, you know, it first came out or whatever, but like I didn't fully internalize it, I guess. But it's basically a thing from Dr. Cecilia Reyes, and she's explaining that because first it's about Sync in particular, because it's you know, well established that Sync is more powerful now after his resurrection, and that she talks in her memo about it, like how essentially being born with your mind having already gone through getting your powers and knowing how to use them, and then being born into a brand new fresh peak body, that actually somehow that makes the mutant more powerful.
Makes sense.
That theoretically there's no cap on this. And so basically she's talking about how like every mutant that's died and come back through Krakoan resurrection is just like they're leveling up in power scale. And I was like, holy shit, I wonder if they're gonna pick up on that at all. Don't know.
I don't know. Well, and I'd be curious to see like over time who's died the least and who's had their powers sort of expanded that way, or died the most and had their powers expanded that way.
Sure.
I think there's a few people in the Krakoan era we've never seen actually have to use resurrection.
Yeah, a lot of them didn't have to die. I don't think, or didn't die. So if you're wearing an X-Force, really.
Well, and Kid Omega kind of had his own like backup body system going on there for a while too.
He was dying a lot, and then I think probably him and Nightcrawler set the record. Nightcrawler just almost entirely in Judgment Day, because that was like part of the plan, was he kept dying and coming back. And then probably I'd imagine it seems like Wolverine left a lot of bodies around.
Yeah, Wolverine died enough they were able to weaponize it at Orcus. And the Wolverine Sentinel is the most terrifying fucking thing.
So
and
Wolverine,
also, yeah.
Sorry, sleeping asset is for sure. You talking about in the cartoon? Yeah, he hasn't done. I mean, look, he did have some cool character stuff with Jean.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they take it to that level, but it's cool. They're not doing it in, they're definitely making sure not to do it in the annoying classic way where he's like, Scott, you're with the girl I want to be with, and he's being a dickhead about it. Like he's emotionally mature enough to go, like, whenever she kissed him, he's like, yeah, look, this was a mistake. It was a mistake.
Right.
He's not just being all like, all right, she's mine now.
You know what it feels like? It feels like they've benefited from some changes to the X-Men canon, because when this show originally was out back in the 90s, we didn't have Wolverine Origins. We didn't have a complete backstory.
True.
Now we know he's a century old at this point, and like, even though he's got some memory issues, like, there's a fair bit of maturity that he's developed, and they've taken advantage of that change.
I wonder if the show goes on, for several seasons, which I hope it does, if they're gonna like get into any of his learning about his past and stuff.
I'm curious. Yeah, it might be a season 2 thing, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I feel like, because we've got a 3-part finale, and that's going to be wild, right?
Wait, there's a 3-part finale?
Yeah.
Are they? Is it coming out all at the same time, or is this going to be?
No, it's going to be weekly, but it's a 3-part story, and I'm just like, what? I don't know that I can handle that, guys.
Well, so basically, it's just one more episode, really, and then we start the finale.
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of wild how quick it's gone, and how each individual episode, except maybe with the 4th one, which I think is kind of the low point for me. And not that it's bad, just that it's like only good. Each one of these episodes has been better than full movies. Like most of the Foxmen movies, I will take any one of these episodes over most of those movies.
Well, so the previous one, the Jubilee stuff was fun. It was fine. It was good. But really, it was the second part that was like, holy shit, this is some strong writing,
Yeah.
Storm and Forge, the life death thing.
And next week is this upcoming Wednesday is going to be part 2 of that.
One of the promos, it looks like Captain America is going to show up. Which promo?
Yeah, share, bro.
I've got to run to the bathroom real quick, so if you want to, I don't know.
Sure. I'll entertain the kids.
Cool.
As to your question, Ben, I know they were. Well, I know they were talking shit about the series. Everything from Rogue's butt to Morph to how they feel like the show is attacking them for being reactionary extremists. But I think since episode 2, they've kind of shut the fuck up. I think because excuse me, it's fucking good. Like, it's just a good show. And it's popular, and they hate to complain about things that are popular. At a certain point, like, what is there to say? Oh, the X-Men is woke. Okay, well, play that one again. But yeah, I think you're right. They shut up when people saw how much people loved it, and there's good reason to love it because it's, I mean, probably one of the best comic book things I've ever seen. I'm curious to see if we will see Carol Julia, because, I mean, Rogue still has her powers. Maybe we'll get some version of her that's like binary or something, where she's not back as like as Captain Marvel or as Miss Marvel, but just like has a different power set. That way to sort of explain like, oh, she's back and she's got different powers, so it's fine that Rogue still has her. I wish Sunspot was just in the show more, in the title, like even just in the lineup when they're running at each other. That cheesy ass scene where they're running at each other. I love it, but it's so fucking cheesy. And then, yeah, I wish he was just in the show more. Maybe we'll get more of him next episode. Because he's supposed to be like the replacement Jubilee as far as a point of view character, and I like him. We just don't see a lot of him, and I get that's because like it's kind of a nostalgia-driven show in some ways. Like we're here for that '92 cast. Get woke. Oh, I mean, House of Dragons is great. Yeah. I don't know that YouTube video. All evils associated with leftists get attached to a show just because it's badly written whenever they're badly written. Okay, yeah. Yeah, and I think that's just culture war bullshit, right? Like, they attach leftists, whatever they consider leftists, because sometimes they'll attack things as being on the left when it's really just capitalism. Rainbow capitalism is the one that comes to my mind, but there are better examples where, like, people on the left don't like that either. What are you talking about, you weirdo? Like, it's just shit. Like, sometimes things are just apolitically shit. But yeah, they can't admit anything is great because their whole brand is based on hate. And not like being a hate group hate, but also that, but just like keeping their audience perpetually angry at things. And so if they liked something and they talked about how much they like something, their audience isn't going to get that high. They're not going to chase that same fix, or they are going to chase it and they're going to go somewhere else. I hope we do not see Sabretooth at all in this. Like, we already got Mr. Sinister. I would like a Sabretooth-free season. Yes, Scott, you got it right. The bag is at stake. And those motherfuckers, they know how to go after that bag. They love that bag more than their mothers. They love that bag more than their family, more than anyone they know, and they will sell anyone out for it. Yeah, it's wild, the revisionism that's going on. Hey, welcome back. That's going on with Battlestar Galactica, because at the time, like, that was, I remember that being a controversial thing in the game store I was going to. And I don't
because they made Starbuck was a woman.
Yeah. Oh my god. Like the guy who played the original Starbuck, like, wrote like blogs at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Freaking the fuck out. And like, I remember that being a thing we talked about at the game store, where I was the only one who wasn't watching BSG because I didn't have cable.
Yeah, I mean the original fucking Apollo was a fucking, I don't like how that all happened, because like he was a dick, and he was like, you know, basically boycotting the show and whining about it, but then they just reached out to him and offered him a role, and he was like, oh, okay. And then he played Tom Zarek.
Oh, okay.
In BSG, and like, which really goes to show what he was really upset about, right? Like, he's not upset that they're doing it. He's upset that they didn't ask him to be a part of it.
Right.
And then they did. And
look, I'm sorry. If your role or you, for whatever reason, are being played by Katie Sackhoff in something, you just say thanks, Katie.
Well, but nobody knew who she was then.
That's true. That's fair.
But I mean, everybody knows who she is now, and
that's why she's amazing.
She's even been in the third Riddick movie, where she shows a boob.
Oh, one whole boob.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I haven't seen the third Riddick movie. I saw the first two.
It's bad good. It's good bad.
Good.
It's bad. It's goodish baddish. Yeah.
Lucifer, I don't know that anyone will. I mean, maybe some people will. I think the first season of Heroes was actually solid. I think after that,
yeah. The problem was the first season was kind of too perfectly formulated in a way.
Yeah, like it closes the loop.
And they didn't think about anything past it. It literally closes the loop. It's like, okay.
Which you're talking about genre television in 2005, like right after Firefly got fucked with. Like, yeah, you're not worried about season 2 when you're writing that show. Sorry.
True. Yeah, I mean, we were just kind of at the beginning of this era of television. You know, so far you'd had, I mean, it literally went from basically Sopranos to then I guess if you want to count Oz, HBO is doing that stuff, and then you just basically got Lost. Was really the one that kind of like said for like network television and stuff, like you can do this for network television too, and that's when you started seeing those shows start to pop up. So I mean, it's understandable that they wouldn't have hit it out of the park every time with every show that early on.
Lucifer, is Heroes streaming anywhere still?
Are you so? Because I watched those seasons and I remember being increasingly frustrated with the show after the first season. Like that Siler, like legitimately was a terrifying presence in the first season. And then it's like, oh, well, but he was popular, so we got to make him like likable now. And it's like, he was fucking cutting people's brains out, man. Yeah.
Well, I will give Heroes this. It gave us Zachary Quinto's Spock.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm thankful for that, and he did a good job. But
yeah, as much as I, have things to say about the second of the reboot movies, I think that the casting for Spock, McCoy, and Kirk are fucking fantastic.
Hey now. I actually do defend the later seasons of Lost. I'm the weirdo who thinks that as Lost got more wacky with the fucking time travel and time traveling island and all that shit, I enjoyed it more. I was way more into it at that point.
I never liked Lost from the beginning, so.
Oh well.
I never watched the later seasons because I watched like the first 2 episodes and went, nah, pass.
Well. I mean, that's kind of surprising. I can understand like getting into it for a little bit and realizing, it's not for me. But like the pilot was pretty goddamn strong, I thought. Look, where's all this Lost hate coming from? I will not have it.
I think what it was is it came out when I was in high school, like my junior or senior year, and we had just read Lord of the Flies. And if you don't know that book, it opens with a bunch of people getting stuck on an island. And I'm just like, I just read this book. So it was just like, I can pass this. I've read the book.
Yeah,
and I know it goes different places.
Hey, no. My opinion is the objectively correct one. Okay.
Maybe this is why objective takes are bullshit.
Speaking of which, it seems like everybody that watched my video that I uploaded this morning is here in chat now. Because holy shit, I guess I need to change the name of it. It is not done well.
I have not watched it. I've been busy.
I'm not surprised because literally nobody's watched it. Literally 0 people.
That's not many, no.
Oh yeah, there's this thing I put together. I meant to play this before the stream today, but I don't know. I'll play it now just because it's only a short's length. I met the guy. Freedom of speech. You can say what he wants. It's like, yeah, man, that's obvious. That's like a given. Like, why are you saying that? He's criticizing your content, Gary. That's what we do. The same way that you claim to and pretend to criticize Marvel and anything that Disney puts out. It's not that difficult of a concept to understand that that's just the same thing, really. I mean, no, you're not a multi-fucking trillion-dollar corporation or anything, but you do have institutional power to a degree and financial backing and stuff like that. You have social status in YouTube terms. So we are, in the same way that you pretend to be, bringing truth to power. Bob's actually doing that with your content, Gary. And you know that. Gary knows that.
Maybe we'll run into each other someday and we can have a chat about it. But
we don't have to run into, you don't have to run into him. We can arrange it, Gary.
We
it
have
can be arranged.
technology.
You're fucking dead behind the eyes, grifter, snake, piece of shit. We can arrange it. I just wanted to get to that insult. That's fun.
Yeah, I'm glad I don't have to do what you guys do on the initiative and put up with that shit. I don't have time for it.
I mean, we don't have to. Like, we could not, Bob could not make a bunch of content about Gary, but he does because he's right to.
That's fair. But I mean, yeah, the fuckers need to be called out. I'm glad you guys do that because I have a finite amount of attention for that level of bullshit.
So you didn't hear any of the EVS deets that Mr. Pace was sharing with us, huh?
I caught some stuff at the very end.
Good stuff. Just like that he's just always been kind of the exact same. Like he told the story about how Robert Kirkman and who was it? Ed Larson, I think. Eric Larson, I mean, Eric Larson had come up to, it was Richard and Ethan were somewhere, and they met up with Larson and Kirkman, they were trying to kind of like, they were looking at doing another Image, launch 2.0 kind of thing, trying to get all the hot artists to come join and do another relaunch or whatever.
Sure.
I guess this must have been before they decided to just, hey, why don't we focus on like really good, unique stories,
right?
Like they've been doing for a while now, and it's done pretty well for them. But yeah, it's like so basically that Ethan didn't introduce Richard Pace to Kirkman or anything, and he's sitting there. Kirkman keeps looking at Richard Pace as in like trying to talk to him, right? And
sure.
Ethan finally was just like, after talking about himself, he's like, oh yeah, and this is Richard Pace, and Kirkman's like, oh, Richard Pace. And that basically he said that Ethan's face was just all twisted up and fucking angry the whole time he was talking about somebody besides him. And it's like, oh man, that's exactly how I picture him being.
I have that story confirmed something that crossed my mind when he was poking around Eric's chat, when he was poking around DJ's chat, looking to interact with you guys, that like he just wants people to talk about him, and like he thought he had it in with the whole like Eric July thing, and maybe there's a conversation to be had there, I don't know. But like I'm like, this guy likes attention a lot, and like just like the spotlight to be on him.
Well, he doesn't, it's not like he likes it, it's that he pathologically needs it in order to feel he has value, I think. Otherwise he's left alone with his own feelings of self, and those can't be very good.
They make pills for that.
They do make pills for that.
They work great. Yeah, the little voice in my head sucks too, and that's why I buy some silencers. So
I don't want to call anybody out by name or anything, but somebody in the Discord said today, it was kind of odd timing because they were like, man, I hate whenever that the Avengers and the X-Men are always butting heads. They need to get past that. And I was like, hold on. You must not be reading comics currently, because they are not butting heads all the time anymore. And
no,
I'm very happy with this status quo shift that has taken place as far as those two teams. Yeah, I wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, I haven't had I'm not reading Avengers right now. So you showed me some panels from this, and I'm like, oh fuck, this looks cool. But
yeah, I'd actually recommend if you get to a point where you want to read, like they're 13, 14 issues in now, and it's Jed McKay who's quickly becoming one of the most solid, consistently fucking great writers in my mind. He's done Moon Knight, this Avengers book. Good shit. So Yeah. Oh, did you see this? By the way. Oh, where'd it go? Oh, I got to share it again. My bad.
Here. All right, I'm done eating.
Oh, never mind. Fuck this. Let's just go right to the Avengers.
We're assembling the Avengers.
They're assembled. So, there's been like 2 arcs so far, really, in the Avengers this run. The first one being the Impossible City and the I forget what their name was. The name of that group. They're like a team of villains. You guys gonna talk about the EVS C2E2 thing? You talking about this current thing? I mean, you can.
Is that the thing we talked about? Where you were just telling me about what with Richard and
the story you talked about with Kirkman and Larson. If that's what you mean, then I just told Morgan about it.
Yeah, he was just catching me up on it.
If you're talking about the current thing where they are banned from C2E2, then haven't really talked about that today.
Whoa!
And how, like all of Comics Game is banned from. They apparently bought paid for a booth under Shane Davis's name. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They
I have this first time hearing of this.
Under Shane Davis's name, who I guess is arguably maybe the least controversial one of them.
Well, it had to be someone.
Somebody's got to be that,
right?
And apparently they were going to just basically sneak in Ethan on there, because they realized that you can't just say Ethan Van Sciver is going to be a guest at this thing because nobody wants him.
Right?
Nobody wants him. It's like it's amazing these guys act like such victims whenever you developed this reputation. You fucking did this to yourself. And like gleefully so. But of course I think he probably realizes, of course, this is his doing, but it's part of the grift is to then play the victim when the opportunity arises. And I theorized that, and I have nothing but speculation here, but they know how to do their grift really well. So I think that when they signed up for the booth, that they knew that this was a possibility, and maybe even it was preferable to them, because then they can make money grifting on it and play victim, and they don't even have to go anywhere.
Right, they can grift on it from the comfort of their own computer chair.
We don't need to go to Chicago. Hang out in our basements or whatever.
Well, and also which is just so fucked up to me, because if I'm gonna go out of the way to get a table at a convention or sign up to do things at a convention, it's because I want to go to the convention, independently of whatever else I'm doing. I'm taking time off. I'm telling Dane, hey, I'm going to be at a convention this weekend. I'm going to have limited presence around here. Anime Metsuri. Oh, God. That's a name I haven't heard in a long time. That's the, alt-right anime con.
Right, yeah. So...
That makes me want to go to C2E2. Oh, they're just, the shitheads out. Oh, that's nice.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of close to you, huh?
Yeah.
Relatively.
It's driving distance.
All right, so yeah, this is not my favorite art in the book so far, but it's pretty competent, sure.
Okay, I actually like this Iron Man in the Mysterium armor a little more than the one in the actual Iron Man book. The thigh wings aren't as extra.
It's it's a different artist in the newest issue of Iron Man than I think I don't think he's been in this run at all so far. Whoever the artist is, I forget, but it is, I don't know. We can look at that in a minute. It's pretty cool, kind of cool.
The cliffhanger at the end of Iron Man was very cool.
Yes, because and I realized that they were teasing that issues ago. Because he was having nightmares about Magneto,
right?
And that was whenever you realize, oh, him and Emma are actually banging now. Because he had that,
because he got out of bed and she was in bed. So if they're not banging, they're noodling, right?
There's something, yeah. And this is just the Avengers have been watching this whole situation. They have their own adventures going on, sure, but they've apparently been aware of this Krakoa thing and Orcus and what they've been doing, their shenanigans, if you want to call attempted genocide that.
It is some form of shenanigans.
Genocidanigans.
Let's not try and make that
I'm
work.
not gonna. I'm sorry. I regret doing that immediately.
Now you're canceled.
Yeah, so they've been waiting, like it's described in the promo and in this book, like a sword of Damocles over the heads of Orcus, just waiting to come down on them. And boy, do they fucking come down on them in this issue. It is amazing. Like every single, like here's one page, they just take out a giant Sentinel factory, just Avengers going through, avenging these Sentinels. I mean, that's what the Avengers is all about, in my opinion. You got to have that cohesive, just like kicking ass. Everybody's playing their role. Good shit. And then of course you got the more ground level folks here going in to save these mutants that have been captured by Orcus. So you got Sam Wilson, you got Wanda, and you got BP in his this is his renegade kind of look that he's doing now.
I love that Black Panther costume. That's so fucking cool.
I mean, I'm sure Nick Fury is aware, but he doesn't really matter right now and hasn't for quite some time, honestly. SHIELD hasn't been a thing that is a thing.
I think
really.
I don't know that I've read anything mentioned about SHIELD in a while. I think they've just kind of faded into the background.
Well, they were dissolved. There's I don't remember what the last thing that happened was, but basically they're just not a thing currently. That's part of what Orcus is like former SHIELD members.
Former SHIELD people, yeah. Which, I mean, sorry, you should know. Like, I'm sorry, if you're ex-SHIELD and you're like, you know what, we've been, like, appropriated by fascists before, like, boy, that sure sucked getting punched in the face by, fucking Iron Man. I would sure hate to. Oh, God, it's Iron Man! Why is he punching me again?
If you read Uncanny Avengers, you saw a little bit of like a little tease of this where you had Captain America, and who else Avengers wise? Was that just him? And the rest were mutants?
I mean, Pietro, Quicksilver's not a mutant currently.
True. Yeah.
Black Widow was on that team. Deadpool's a weird case, right? Deadpool's a corner case. He's
like mutish.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's just like a teaser. Like this is the full-on Avengers version of that,
right?
That vibe, where they're just like, yeah, we are fully in your pocket, mutants. We are on your side. Just tell us who to fucking beat the shit out of, and we're gonna do it. And then they do.
Yeah, I think there's a line somewhere. It's like, yeah, it's three mutants versus or three Avengers versus an Orcus facility.
Yep.
That's almost too many.
Vision says yes. So this person says, you have to go back there. You have to help them. There's only 3 of them. Yes, only 3. Not particularly fair for Orcus, is it?
Right. It's just like, oh, fuck.
It's just like, look, there's, for anybody that's not aware, there are Stark Sentinels right now. Yep. There are Sentinels that are made from Stark technology because he had his company hostile takeover by old Felong. And boy, Felong got his.
Did. Oh, he did. That's been like 3 years of comeuppance, though, right? Like that boy has needed his attitude adjusted for a while.
Yeah, it's been I guess we're in issue 18 is the next one of Iron Man. So yeah, almost 2 years.
Well, because he's even around in like 2022 X-Men comics.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he was set up more in X-Men first.
Yeah, like he shows up there first with like trying to take over Phobos and like building that base over above Mars.
Yep.
And like putting up fucking Nightcrawler's body as like a display piece because he's a crazy person.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this, that like there has been some progress it's taken a long time to get to this point, but like, back whenever the Avengers versus X-Men, they weren't like bitter enemies at that point. The reason that they fought was the Phoenix Force was coming to Earth. And Cyclops, the X-Men, there's only like 3 mutants left. And Cyclops is like, well, we're going to use that Phoenix Force for Hope. And she's going to bring us more mutants because I don't know how I figured that out, but I just know that's what's going to happen. And Captain America's like, dude, you need to let us take Hope and protect her and deal with this Phoenix problem. And he's like, no. And then they fight. There's a bunch of fighting. And then a bunch of X-Men become Phoenixes.
And I think my favorite part of that story that I otherwise actually hate is that fucking no one goes, so Hope, what's your thought in all this? it's just a bunch of grown ass men telling this girl what to do.
Well,
and like, this is Cable's fucking daughter. She probably knows what she wants to be doing.
Well, I mean, she yeah, that is a part of it, though, is that, like, she does, I think, from what I recall, she wants to see what's going to happen kind of thing. And she's actually expressing, now that I think about it, what you're expressing in a lot of it. It's just like, why am I not being consulted in this? And then what ends up happening is, while all the other bullshit's going on, she goes and trains with Scarlet Witch and who else? Iron Fist or something? She like goes to Kunlun, maybe?
Yeah, she trains with a couple of magic users.
Yeah. And she learns some shit, and she learns how to harness the Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, prepare the girl for what's probably going to happen instead of just trying to decide shit for her.
The Phoenix is homing in on her. It's a cosmic entity. There's only so much we can do about this. What if we just like prep her? You know, give her like a crash course, and so the Phoenix is coming for you.
Iron Man says, "You know what? Fuck all that. Why don't I just build a big gun and shoot it?
I'm gonna shoot the Phoenix. This plan has gone swimmingly for the Shi'ar Empire several times.
So he's made some progress. You know, clearly he's
banging a Phoenix Force host. So,
all right. So then, over in what was it Resurrection of Magneto number 4, the most recent issue of that, or the final issue of that, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's the final issue. Yeah.
Because, spoiler alert, he gets resurrected. And
wait, hold on, Dane. Are you telling me in a book called The Resurrection of Magneto, they resurrect Magneto?
Spoilers, yeah.
Fuck.
I don't know what else to say. he gets the resurrection happening, and right at the end of it, like, basically he which is
also,
a really
he's
cool
a
issue.
hunk now.
Have you read the final issue of that?
Yeah.
By the way?
Yeah.
It's really cool. Like, he's his whole inner monologue as he's trying to figure out what kind of Magneto he's going to be, as he's also just fucking wrecking these Sentinels, or really just one
He
Sentinel.
is like doing his own helmet fashion show while he's reducing Orcus goons into like balls of flesh.
Yeah, I forgot about the ball of flesh.
It's just like,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, did none of you like read up on this guy? Like, oh, Magneto's here. Yeah, we should throw down our guns and take off our clothes and run screaming into the wilderness. That's a better chance of survival than shooting Magneto. Like, you're done. Pack it in. That's Magneto. What are you doing? You have a gun. You don't have a name tag. You're a guy with no name tag, and you're going to try and fight Magneto.
Man, this is really going pretty slow. That sucks. I wish I knew what was going on with my internet right now, because it normally doesn't do this.
You've had this issue a few times when you've been uploading stuff lately, so I don't know. I thought it was just a Sunday issue, but I guess not. I guess it's a recurrent problem.
Well, I better luck opening the Iron Man issue. Yeah, for some reason that actually works.
Yay!
So basically, at the end of it, you know, they get a call. Magneto and Storm and Adam Brashear, Blue Marvel. He's a big part.
Blue Marvel is there. Yeah, fuck yeah, that guy's awesome.
They literally do the first mutant human circuit. Well, probably not the first, but like, you know, they make a big deal of it, right?
They make a big deal of like, we're doing a human mutant circuit, and it's gonna fucking wreck these Sentinels, and it does. It wrecks these Sentinels.
It does indeed wreck the Sentinels.
But then Magneto gets a call from Emma to be like, "Hey, we could use you."
She's like, "Can you help my husband out?"
Yeah.
And what's funny is he doesn't even really ask. Like, wait, what?
What?
Husband?
You are Emma the fuck Frost.
You know, I guess he probably did get like a psychic download from Storm or something like that.
Sure.
I don't know. Or from Emma. I don't know. But it's pretty cool because it ends that's how that miniseries ends. Is him just being like asked to go help out Tony Stark, who last time we saw him, he was in the Sentinel Buster armor, and he was just like clapping Sentinels to bits and shit, just destroying them. The problem was there was way more Sentinels than he expected there to be, and he ran out of power.
Right, and the like, I actually really like that from like a tech nerd standpoint. That like, often the problem in our real world with technology isn't so much can we build it, but can we power it
right
long enough to do what we needed to do. So for me, as a tech nerd, I'm just like, oh, I love that.
Okay, so I managed to get Magneto open now.
Yeah, here's Magneto doing his fashion show. These guys are just like, you're fucking flesh
turn
marbles.
these dudes
you
into
nerds.
fucking balls of goo. Look, don't be a fascist and then like fuck with Magneto. Really, like he's not
This is just gonna go. It doesn't go your way.
No, it goes his way, as he says there, my way. And I just want to see this scene acted out with my way. I did it my way.
Yeah, just some Frank. Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh gods. Also, I love this like young hunk Magneto. I'm absolutely here for it.
He's incredibly hot right now. Yeah.
He's a handsome man, and
he's a snack.
He is a snack.
Oh, look, I didn't notice that little X there till right now. That's cool.
Yep. I mean, it actually, I think Forge and Riri built the Sentinel Buster armor in space.
Yes. Yes. So
don't they know how many Nazis? No, they did not read that briefing. They skipped that briefing. They're like, it's an optional briefing.
So he takes a bunch of junk and makes big boxing fists from it. That he then uses to beat the ever-loving shit out of the Sentinel. Though, doesn't quite do enough. So that's when he decides, he's like, hey, let's do this shit. He says, Aurora, Adam, to me, my people.
My folks.
We don't have an official name.
We don't have a team name. That would be a cool team book, though. All right, I want that. I guess this was kind of that team book for the last couple of issues, but
she's like, well, what kind of circuit? Like, aren't you a super genius? Come on, man.
Come on.
Like, aren't you like literally the smartest guy in the Marvel universe?
Yep. Third smartest? Second smartest? Somewhere in there?
Something like that.
Noodles. I feel like it's still Franklin Richards, or it's still Reed Richards, but I kind of think Reed Richards is a moron, so...
Look, guys, like, how often have you seen comic skaters and stuff saying that, like, the art is bad and now comics and shit? Like, are you kidding me with this shit? Like, I mean, it's not my favorite, like, the style of the figures isn't my favorite, like, style, but, I mean, the art is far more than competent.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and also they don't draw hot women, but, like, Storm is there being fucking hot as hell.
Bingo. Bingo, bango, bongo. Yeah, then he gets he gets a call.
Yeah.
He's like, let's go save Iron Man.
Fuck yeah. We're doing it.
And then they do that. Or he does that, rather.
He goes and he just he continues the fucking of Fei Long's day.
Dr. Doom is not the smartest guy. He's actually canonically not as smart as Reed Richards.
No.
And that's kind of part of his thing, because he's just like really hates that fact.
But they're both, to put it in like D&D terms, it's like they're both like int 18, but like wisdom 8. Neither of them are particularly wise men. I think it's just that like Reed has Sue and Ben and Johnny to like rein in his stupid, where Doom doesn't have like someone to go like, come on Doc.
So this is a different art style in this Iron Man book than I think has been in this run
there,
so
yeah.
It
also doesn't have the thighs of Doom, so that's another improvement.
I feel like this is a good choice for art for this issue, because most of it is
you're Cyloning.
I mean, there's some action in it for sure, which is now being infiltrated by Sentinels, and then also Felong's in there somewhere, just hanging out, doing something,
doing Felong things.
So yeah, if you notice the scale there of his Sentinel Buster armor versus the Sentinels
is fucking huge. It's a fucking super robot. It's not like, oh yeah, the Sentinels are like Gundam size, and his is just like, yeah, here's the Getter Emperor. For the two of you know what I'm talking about.
And then he runs. Hey, look, it's Mom and Mom.
It's his two moms.
Starts having some inner visions type shit. Probably hallucinating from blood loss or something.
Yeah, I said between the fumes, the blood loss, and blunt force concussion to his head, yeah, it's time for some hallucinations. Am I dead?
Because I kind of feel dead.
He's having a rough day.
And they're like,
then they get fired. Oh.
Wait. Like, no, what are you talking about? Everything's normal.
Yeah, perfectly normal. We're all fine here. How are you?
He's alive? Dad's alive? No, don't be silly. Of course he's dead. He's just through there. So, you know, it's one of those issues where he's kind of facing the because it has been a lot of action in this series, and so I was really actually grateful that it slowed down to kind of do some of this type of stuff.
It hasn't slowed down since like the issue where they do all like the intelligence gathering to pull that con on Fei Long, and that's like 6 issues ago now.
Oh yeah, here's his this guy that he talked into working for him at the beginning of this run.
And then he gets killed.
He gets killed pretty quickly, as well as his old lady neighbor, because he gets broke. He's broke in this run. Tony is, so he gets a little apartment, and Fei Long has some people, I guess, he attacks his apartment, blows it up, and kills this lady, his neighbor, just some lady.
Because Fei Long is a dick.
He's a pretty big dick. Oh boy, then we got some hands and stuff. That's always cool. Always a good sign there. And then he's like basically doing his Tony Stark, wrestling with the consequences of his actions.
Right.
You know, he's actually, what's interesting because he's expressing empathy for his villains.
Yeah, including Detroit Steel, who I forgot about again. I was like, oh right, Detroit Steel, that was a thing they did.
Nope. Not at all that.
Nope. Someone else had the 10 rings, and then she got rid of them.
Yeah, Riri had them, and now she doesn't.
Yep.
She did do some stuff with them, though.
She did some crazy fucking stuff with them.
Fun shit. And I think that's an interesting take to have to do with her, right? Like, because she's a very tech-based character. To then, like, okay, after several years, of course, it's not something you want to do early on in Riri's character existing. But yeah, give her some magic rings. See what happens.
Well, and I think it's a cool, like, for all of she's just, you know, the girl Tony Stark. Like, that's something Tony would never do.
Right.
Tony's like, I don't fucking trust those rings. I know where they've been.
Fei Long is he's competent Elon Musk.
He's what Elon Musk wishes he was.
Yep. Then he's like, he gets saved by Magneto here.
I like how one of his hallucinations is Magneto too.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's not the first time he had that nightmare before. So like, and I'm really glad that they, you know, because I remember whenever Avengers versus X-Men happened, and it was like Iron Man's going to fight Magneto, and your first thought is, oh well, fuck.
Well, yeah, get
R.I.P. Iron Man, but like no, he had invented type of something other that would like counteract
like a ceramic composite suit that didn't have any ferrous metals in it, so he couldn't Magneto them.
That doesn't mean that he still isn't terrified of Magneto, who could literally crush him in most of his armors if he's not prepared for him.
Well, and Magneto, like, depending on the power level he's being depicted at, like, he could just move all the iron into your blood and cause a blood clot somewhere and just kill you that way.
True. And then he gets thrown and whatnot, and he's like, "Wait, don't kill me, because I actually don't want to die, though." That's good art right there. I like that.
Good art.
Oh shit! This is terrifying. I've been redeemed. It's like,
Tony, you okay?
Famous last words. I've been redeemed.
My wife's really hot.
Yep. Then he sees the good old dad, right? Got to see dad.
Dad in the Mark 1 too, which is very like current Ultimate Marvel. Because like his dad was Iron Man, and Tony is actually Iron Lad in Ultimate Marvel.
Uh-oh.
That's some freaky dad shit.
I hate when my dad looks like that.
Yeah, me too. That's always concerning. Help me.
Okay. So then I think he's actually not.
Now he's back
anymore. He gets to the heart of this thing, and he just finds Felong, who's
got him with some fucking rebar, because that's what you do when you're an asshole. This purple motherfucker.
Well, it just goes to show that he's kind of desperate at this point, right? Like he doesn't have. I mean, he does have a power, but I don't think he can do it very frequently.
No, I don't think so.
So, I mean, this whole time, basically since the beginning of this run, he's been saying he's going to kill Felong. Especially after he killed Wei and then his neighbor. He's like, this guy's got to fucking go.
And he sent Rhodey to jail and sent people to kill Rhodey in jail.
Yep.
And just like...
And then not to mention all of this whole killing, trying, to get rid of all the mutants thing.
Right, trying to kill all his mutant friends and his hot wife.
Yep, that's a cool shot.
That's a cool. Just doesn't even look at him. Just fucking dabs.
The reason, by the way, that Felong is such a shithead is that his parents were mutants, and he's not. He wasn't. And he's like, that's, which is kind of an interesting take to have.
Like, he's purple because he did shit to himself.
He can vomit some kind of energy blast because he experimented on himself.
Right, like, because his skin color changes a few times in X-Men, just because like he keeps doing shit to himself.
Johnny Scraps.
The Mark I is a classic.
Yeah. Oh, don't puke on me, dude.
Yeah, God.
You're gonna puke on him.
Hey, don't spray it.
Yeah, the first time that he did that to him, it worked.
Yep. Now, not so much.
You ain't got shit, Fee Long. Fee not long for this world, you know? He does kind of sound like Graydon Creed.
Yeah, he's like smarter Graydon Creed.
Just fucking beating the shit out of him. And letting him know why, too. Giving him a splack.
Good old splack. I love comic book noises.
Onomatopoeias are great. What?
But there's no, you know what? There's no like violence in comics anymore.
Nope, it's not even cool. There's nothing cool in comics.
Nothing cool. No.
And then he admits everything. Of course, I fucked up, man. I failed everything. Yep. Please kill me, please.
Right, because also Fei Long knows what's a coming and how he helped fuck it all up.
And Tony, by the way, Tony did give him every opportunity. He kept telling him, like, you need to quit now because I'm gonna eventually I'm gonna get to you. I'm gonna kill you. And he's like, yeah.
Come on, you're an evil businessman. I'm a less evil businessman. Someone tries to knock me off, and inevitably I end up killing them. This goes one way every time. Here's a stack of comics. Read the material.
And yeah, he literally just did the count. Did the rundown a few minutes ago, and all his villains that have died. So it sets you up for another one of those. But then he's got some information.
Yep.
Shut down all the remaining Sentinels. That's what I'm telling you, bro. I can't because Orcus was not really Orcus. Orcus was just a couple of AI that were fucking snowing us all.
Womp, 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 womp. You dumb motherfucker. You thought you were so smart.
Nimrod and Omega Sentinel are really the only two things that have any true power in Orcus at this point.
Yep.
And probably ever did. And they got a shitload of Sentinels that they've been building on the DL.
On the moon.
Yeah, and so they're kind of boned.
Well, boy, those Sentinels look really metal. I wonder if there's a guy for that.
Right. I mean, it would make some sense if there was some kind of guy that could possibly. And I love this shot. Just one panel of what the X-Men are dealing with.
Yeah, and I like it's got continuity because those are the people we saw Emma with last in Fall of the House of X.
The continuity has been insanely good as far as like what
as far as like
an
event goes. Yeah.
Yeah. They've really planned it out. They must have some board like that, just like every character's accounted for at all times, kind of thing.
Right.
So yeah, they're all gonna die, right? Yeah, except somebody shows up. Oh my god, I'll be damned.
Who is it? It's your boy.
Hello, Stark. Your wife sent me.
It's such a great panel.
I've had my
Your
share of
wife
untold
sent me.
tales in this autobiography, but maybe none more suspenseful than my next story. How I learned to stop worrying and love the master of magnetism.
The fucking Doctor Strangelove call out at the end.
Which is why I named my video Dr. Strangelove call a reference to, by the way.
Nice.
Today. It's how I learned to stop worrying and love the chunky monkey.
Nice.
And then you get this cover for the next issue.
I'm not a poster person.
But yeah, that might be one that
That's a cool fucking cover.
It really is.
That's a really cool fucking cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, Julia's got it right. Magneto and Stark Marvel team up.
And the thing is, look, there's definitely, because I've been reading some of the older stuff that what's his name? Literally wrote this comic, and writes all the X-Men book right now. Fuck, what's his name?
I am reading these too, and somehow I am forgetting.
Him. Well, I've been reading some of his older stuff, and he's always been a pretty competent writer. Some of it's not as cohesive or like fun, or just generally isn't really great comics. He's been fucking hitting it out of the park, pretty much all cylinders throughout this entire Fall of X, everything, as well as his Iron Man run, which, maybe early on wasn't my favorite Iron Man run at all, and it's still not my favorite. I think the best would probably be.
I think mine is still probably the Fraction run.
Yeah.
But
like whenever he's on the run and he's like erasing his own brain and shit,
Yeah.
like that shit is insanely good.
that was really cool. I'm like, that's where we got the rescue armor, and just like it was a really cool run.
Yeah.
I think that for me is probably my favorite, and then the on the run stuff with him having to use progressively worse suits because, oh shit, my brain can't handle that one anymore because I am this level of stupid now.
I'm too dumb to operate my newer suits now. I gotta download again. It's a really clever way to do it. And
Jerry Duggan.
Gary Duggan, thank you. Yes. Also, I've been reading. I wanted to talk to you about this, and maybe we can talk about more about this on Sunday or something, since we talked about X-Men 97 some.
Yeah.
But like, I'm realizing now that because I, like a lot of people, after Ultimatum in the Ultimate Universe, I stopped reading that shit.
Same.
However,
I don't think I finished Ultimatum. I think I just gave up.
it is pretty brutal, kind of. It's like it's a punishment book.
It's just like violence porn.
So, but I will say that like the Wolverine death is kind of cool. If it would have been led up to with a little bit more, then maybe it would have been better. But like, but no, I got Hickman's omnibus for the Ultimate Marvel Universe post, and so like this is when the only Avengers that are still around even are Captain America's not even an Avenger anymore. He's not Captain America anymore. He retired basically. But you got Thor's still doing Thor shit. Iron Man's still doing Iron Man shit. Pretty quick when it starts off, you finally get the origin of Thor that was never really told in the Ultimate Universe. It was always just like they played with whether or not he's just a crazy guy or not for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But then you find out no, he is the son of Odin and stuff, and there's Loki and all that. But then Ragnarok happens, and all of the Asgardians die, but they die by the children. The children of tomorrow, which are
Ultimate Children of the Vault, I presume. Oh, you are siloning real bad again. Oh, I think Dane's dead. Dane, if you can hear me.
Hello.
Hi. Hello.
Okay. So the children being the very fast, the 1,000-year evolved humans, superhumans that were put into basically a hyperbaric thing and evolved super fast by one Reed Richards, the maker.
Oh, it's the maker. Okay, so this is where, like, I know the maker is Ultimate Reed Richards.
Yes,
and I know he's some kind of fucker. But even in like Ultimate Galactus, he was kind of like weird.
Yeah, he's
like
it is a gradual thing that, from what I can tell, because the point I'm trying to get to is that I think that I'm going to go through and read all of this stuff between Ultimatum and Secret Wars, basically, and then maybe do some content about it, because
interesting.
This I really fucking enjoyed, this Hickman stuff.
Wow.
Because it's like you got what's left of the Avengers, you got a Black Widow that's not not Natasha. I think she's dead. Hawkeye plays a big role. Like he's kind of like takes the lead almost as being like the lead character.
Interesting.
Which is pretty cool because he also they put him through some shit in the Ultimate Universe.
I also like when you give like a team book a human, like an ordinary-ish human as your lead.
Yes.
Just because it grounds things a little bit.
And that's what he's good for sure. That's the role that, like, but except instead of like in the 616, I'm sorry, in the MCU, even though they say it's a 616. No, it's not. Fuck off.
No, it's not.
He has the family and the kids and stuff like that. Well, he has that in the Ultimate Universe until they get killed by Black Widow.
Oh, look, I know Black Widow's a fucker, and
oh yeah, she's like truly a fucking double agent.
Yeah, she's a real piece of shit.
And yeah, she's the one that actually assassinates and kills his family, like a bitch. Wow. But yeah, so the character, the concept of the children being these humans that were evolved over 1,000 years, but really in real time it was only like a short amount of time, by the maker in this crazy city that he's built, this dome city. And then on the other side of it, you've also got the, what are they called?
Children of the Vault?
No, because that's what they kind of are. In a way, there's a lot of similarities with these children and the Children of the Vault. But no, you've also got Zorn and Zorn's people over in China.
There's today I learned there's an Ultimate Zorn.
There's two.
Well, because there was two Zorns in 616, and that went really well the first time.
Well, they're brothers, they're twin brothers, but they each have like basically they have the opposite and negative kind of star in their head effect going. One of them's like got a star, the other one's got a dying star, a black hole in his head. And then they each have their own little faction. They have their own civilization together. The reason that they came about, because by the way, for anybody that's not aware, in the Ultimate Universe, mutants were just created in a lab.
Yeah. Like basically in the Ultimate Universe, almost all the superheroes get their powers from someone trying to redo the super soldier serum.
Yep.
Like that's the Hulk, that's the X-Men, that's Spider-Man, that's most of Spider-Man's rogues gallery.
Oh yeah. By the way, this guy's still around in the Ultimate Universe, the Hulk. He's actually he ends up living in a monastery and becoming all Buddhist and shit.
Buddhist Hulk, I dig it. Well, it's weird. It's interesting because in the new Ultimate Universe, Hulk is like a cult leader.
Yeah, there's very similar. Yeah, there's a lot of, you can tell that Hickman definitely picked the stuff that he liked, that he most about that he did in this version, and kind of planted some of that as being the thing in this. And it makes sense because the maker would be familiar with all of that.
Right. I think even his domed city with his like army in it.
Yep.
Is in the new Ultimate Universe, and that's where he's stuck with Howard Stark and Obadiah Stane.
Is he? Do you think they're alive?
I can't. Okay, I would imagine they were dead, but I don't think they're dead.
Probably not. Probably right. So here, actually, I accidentally turned to the Zorns getting injected with the powers that then, like, it's some kind of serum that they've made that's super duper, crazy powerful and shit. because as they say in this, the over in China, they don't have the ethics that the Americans had when they made their serum. So
I
it's kind of
love
yikes.
Ultimate Marvel. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Because you had like Captain Iran, who was like the terrorist super soldier with Darth Maul's double-bladed lightsaber, and I'm just like, even back then, I was just like, this is a little heavy-handed, folks.
But like so in this, they shoot up a bunch of people. They make basically a whole bunch of people superhumans, and then they end up evolving really fast too, and decide they not evolve. They become enlightened, basically. Like they can see beyond time and stuff like that. Everybody gets these crazy powerful shit. Nobody knows what powers you're going to get until they get them, and then they basically take over the government and say, look, or they overthrow the government. They do what tankies and stuff, what a lot of leftists seem to want superhero movies to do. They literally just go, look, we have the power to kind of take over this shitty system you have, and to say this system is over, so we're doing that. And they do
then
that.
They become authoritarian fascist dickwads.
Not really. No. I mean, the Zorns don't. No, they kind of become pretty chill. They each have their own unique, nuances about how they. So the one Zorn has the Eternals as his people, and the other Zorn has the Celestials as his people.
Oh, interesting.
So concepts being used in different ways, right?
Yeah.
And then literally they fucking. I mean, the Hulk is not really a problem for them even. It's just like,
wow.
They're super powerful. They do some cool shit.
So if I recall, Ultimate Hulk was never as strong as 616 Hulk. We're like,
no, but he was a rapist.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I did too until I read it. Like, I actually really, sadly, because fuck Mark Millar, but I mostly enjoyed his Ultimates stuff. It's mostly pretty solid, and definitely a lot of influence carried over into the movies.
It was definitely a big influence on the first Avengers movie for sure. But I think part of that was that they jettisoned a lot of the stuff that, not even talking about it aging poorly, it was just yikes. Just like, we don't want that in a family movie.
So yeah, here you get in Germany is where the maker sets up shop with his folks, and then basically this whole thing is just you have a Captain Britain as well, but like it's a lot of Nick Fury and Hawkeye wringing their hands trying to decide what to do about this problem in Germany and this problem in China. A problem because even though they're not really a problem yet, they're going to be a problem.
They're gonna be a problem, either because they decide to be a problem, or someone is gonna make a problem. And when you're talking about like a country run by enlightened mutants led by two cosmic entities, that never goes well.
There has been a Sinister and an Ultron, I know for sure. But like, I just realized looks like they got that scene from Civil War kind of came from this maybe, but not really, because he's not. No, he's more remote piloting it, so that'd be more like an Iron Man 3, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah. Thor shows up, and man, I like Thor in this one. He's cool. He doesn't fuck around.
Ultimate Thor was pretty cool. Just like even the idea of like, is he a god or is he just crazy, was fun, because it's just like, nah, I get it.
So basically, the event, the Ultimates rather, and then the whatever the Captain Britons are, the Europeans, they go after the dome here, and they're going to check it out. And essentially, they realize very quickly that they are far outmatched by whatever the fuck maker has created here. It's just like these guys are doing shit you can't even comprehend before they're done doing it to you. And it's really cool. I like that kind of stuff. I like Hickman's weird shit. It's just
like Hickman's weird shit has always been hit or miss for me. Like, I don't know that I would be 100% on board with this book, but like it.
Well, no, I know what you mean. It's hit or miss. You're right.
Yeah,
but this is definitely the most. This is the hit for me. This is up there with, if with. It doesn't resonate the same as Krakoa because there's a lot of like lore steeped in Krakoa era stuff. but
Right.
like it definitely the
Krakoa
weird works.
Yeah, Krakoa like uses the lore to sort of to build this sort of culmination feeling of like we're bringing it all together. Where I think the Ultimate Universe had always sort of been disjointed in a way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is definitely that's one thing about this omnibus. This is the most cohesive I've ever experienced it, and it's all one, it's kind of narrative that just it gets more insane. It gets harder to even describe what the fuck is happening. Honestly, I'm like looking back at it, like holy shit, it was good.
Like I will say, like the first, like the Ultimates one shot, and the first couple issues of Spider-Man and the first couple issues of Black Panther felt very like samey, and then Ultimate X-Men is doing its own fucking weird thing, and I love it.
Yeah.
But it's its own fucking weird thing, and if someone's like, that is not my weird thing, I'm going, 2 thumbs up. I got you, bro.
So because Ragnarok essentially happens, and Odin is killed, you get Thor loses his powers.
Right.
And so here you get I don't remember who this is that makes it for him, but he makes him, he's had one before when he was disconnected from his powers, this belt system, but this one's way better. And now actually his new hammer can teleport people.
Oh, that's cool.
So,
Didn't that version of Mjolnir end up in 616 after Secret War?
Yes, I think that's the Stormbreaker, the one that he ends up, or no, Yarnborn. I don't remember.
That's the axe that he had in like Uncanny Avengers.
Oh yeah.
But I could have sworn that like the Ultimate Mjolnir made its way to 616 for a while.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Like it was like it survived Secret Wars somehow and ended up there.
And then this once again is them getting their fucking asses handed to them. They just can't do shit. They go back, they teleport out of there, and then Thor's like, okay, now that I brought everybody back, I'm going back to fight these motherfuckers. And that's stupid because he's gonna die for sure.
He's gonna die.
But man, that's some cool art.
That is some cool fucking Thor art. Holy shit.
That's a poster right there, actually.
That's a cool fucking, like, even though he's gonna go down, like that's some cool fucking art.
Theoretically, he's going to go down. Anyway, so I just wanted to say that I'm excited about that. I'm excited about comics. I love being excited about comics. It's one of my favorite fucking things.
Oh yeah, for sure. I love comics. I will say that like the Maker's look, when Chuck came back in Krakoa, because like I had tuned out for a while and Chuck was dead. When he came back with like the Cerebro helmet and I'm like, and the black bodysuit, and I'm like, this Maker looking motherfucker.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, I saw a lot of people legit theorizing that it must be really the Maker. That's why he's acting weird and stuff. And it's like, no, that's not why he was acting weird at all. He was acting weird because he was, I think, in hindsight, it makes more sense than reading at the time. It's like he knew a lot of things that he'd never known before.
Right.
And it's like, yeah.
Because of Moira's timeline save scumming.
Yep.
And that's cool. More than anyone else, Charles is really like the person who could absorb that information the best, just because he's that, his power as a telepath isn't the greatest, but he has like the finest amount of control where he can pull selective things out and understand it from your perspective and really dissect it all and see what's a person's own like understanding of a thing versus how it probably happened. That like exposing Charles to everything Moira has been through, it's going to change a guy's perspective with how deep he can get into that.
It made him more cynical, but also more confident.
Yeah.
And yeah. And you get Thor, he's like, oh man, I suck.
Losing his eye because Thor's always got to lose his eye to be like his old man.
Yeah, he's talking to his dad there too. He's like, I'm alone, and he's like, oh, you're not alone.
That's a fucking cool shot.
And then Reed reveals himself here he's like, I need you to know who I am. I need you to see my face, Thor. And Thor goes back, and he's just like, he's fucking disconnected. He's despondent. He's just like, Nick Fury's like, what the fuck? What did he say, man? What do you know? He's like, was that everything you said? And he said, huh? Oh, no, there was also, it's Reed Richards. And
it's fungus, man. Because Reed Richards in Ultimates is not like a dude. He's like a collection of like independent cells. He's like this weird like mind hive thing where like he doesn't have like organs or anything. He's just hey, Spider Woman.
Not bad.
Ultimate Spider Woman is a G. Like,
isn't she?
She's a clone. She's a clone of Peter Parker.
Okay.
Yeah.
I knew something like that. Yeah, like some cool shit happens later on. Anyway, but like Tony Stark throughout this whole thing, he's seeing some hallucination of a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh no, because people keep on walking in on him talking to this little hallucination kid that only he can see. And this little kid in like a little suit and stuff, and it's like, what the fuck is going on? And because see, if you're not aware, in the Ultimate Universe, he had a brain tumor and not a heart issue.
Right.
Well, it kind of indicates his brain tumor's back, and it is back. But what he does with it is fucking Hickmania. God damn it. Eventually, I'm not going to keep going through here. I'm sorry, but I'm sorry for making you guys sit through as well.
Oh no, you're showing me comics I haven't read. What was me?
He gets captured by the Maker, and it seems like all hope is lost. The Maker's going to just dissect him and shit. And turns out no, he actually did that on purpose, so that he could get in there. And the only way that he could trick the Maker is he basically weaponizes his brain tumor and makes it into is a little like AI situation. It's like its own little AI separate from him, and then it like
gives his fucking tumor artificial intelligence.
It takes over the Maker's city. It takes over the city, the whole dome, and causes it to rebel against the Maker, and then which then causes all of the Maker's people to rebel against him. It's fucking pretty awesome. It's like,
okay, so like tech villain number one, like. If I'm holding a seminar for like other tech villains, clearly I'm a tech villain. And we're gonna have a seminar. Rule 1: don't, never kidnap Tony Stark and bring him anywhere. At 1, just kill him. 2, don't kidnap him. 3, if you have to kidnap him, don't like take him anywhere with technology. Take him to like an Amish settlement somewhere where all that's around is the cell phones that people have smuggled in. Like, don't.
So yeah,
don't like, smuggle him into your like futuristic city. That's gonna go badly for you.
It does. It goes bad. It goes bad for him.
I mean, you laugh about the tech villain convention, Julia, but I've been to the supervillain picnic. That's where I won my lifetime supply of ninjas, which is useless. Because as we all know, thanks to the law of the conservation of ninjutsu, the more ninjas you have, the less powerful they are. And a lifetime supply, they can't do anything. They can barely hold a pencil. It's really sad.
Oh, here's this giant fucking armor that his brain tumor makes out of elements from the city.
Just builds a fucking war machine armor.
Yeah. Maker doesn't have a good time.
No, good. I like it when the Maker has a bad time.
He's like, he tells us, deploy the first knife to Stark. Blah, blah, blah. The first knife being the title of a defense guy.
Sure.
And he's like, I'm sorry, Maker, I can't do that. Attention, children of tomorrow. I'm establishing a city cast quorum. An opportunity has presented itself. The Maker has exhibited a series of retrograde behaviors inhibiting our evolution.
Oops.
And yeah, that's true, because he actually starts making some pretty irrational choices. He's made his people are actually more enlightened and evolved than he actually is.
Yeah.
So that's pretty fun.
Yeah, it is Tony Stark's tumor and a box of scraps.
He's like, how? And he's like, how are you doing this? I've been thinking for 1,000 years. And he's like, it's a secret. I got a secret weapon. You were just too blind to see it. When I said I was buddies with my brain tumor, it wasn't a joke. It's fucking crazy. Yeah, Tony Stark's brain tumor in a box of scraps. There he is. That's the tumor right there. He's off doing shit.
Doing tumor shit.
And then, it shows here it shows Thor. He's talking to somebody, and it's not clear. I mean, I assumed it was Black Widow. That they're going to take her in to deal with the Maker.
Sure.
And who it is awesome because it's Sue.
Oh fuck yeah!
And she fucking look what she does to fucking Hulk. Because he made Hulk super big. Maker did, and she uses her helmet and go bloop right through his eye. Like, yeah, Sue is fucking badass in this.
I love when Sue's a badass. Sue doesn't get enough fucking respect on her name. Julia, all right, I want that movie now. Put that in a movie. I'm here for that.
And then here, the little tumor's voice says, "Did I do okay? Yeah, you did great, son." Like,
oh, it's a son. That's adorable.
But this is awesome. I fucking love this. That she just like, because he's all, spaghettied out, and I still love you. And she's like, "Read, please. I'm not the girl I used to be. I wasted a lot of time feeling guilty for what happened between us and for all the other things you did after. I'm over it, Reed."
Congrats, you're now in the ball.
You always said I was a little bit smarter than you. Yeah.
I just appreciate that when we started talking about comics today, we were talking about the Resurrection of Magneto, where our hero puts an asshole into a flesh-shaped ball, or a ball made of flesh. And now we have Sue here putting the Maker in a fleshy ball.
Yep.
I love the symmetry, Dan. You really brought it together with that.
And on that note, I guess, look, I'm surprised that we maintained the viewers that we have. You guys are great.
Y'all rock.
I guess we just are really cool when we talk about comics. So,
hey, that energy when someone talks about what they love, it's infectious.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that, like, I love about going to conventions, whether it's a comic convention or an anime convention or a gaming convention. The energy of people who love what they're doing and love what they're into, just unashamedly, it's infectious. It's
and
like
in that regard, I do appreciate that they're like, honestly, seriously, when I think about like being a little kid and like wanting to talk to people about these comics that I'm reading and stuff and get all nerded out and stuff, and like nobody wanted to hear it. I am very appreciative of having a YouTube channel and 20 some odd people that are willing to just hear us go off about the craziest, silliest, awesome comic book shit.
Yeah, it's there is not a medium like comic books. And whether comic books to you is cape books or indie books or horror books or manga, whatever it is, like it is a medium unto itself. And
do you know why that is? I think I do. Like why?
What do you think?
There's the comics, they do present a lot to us. There's a lot there on the page, but we also put more into it than we do with other mediums. Right? Like when you're watching a movie, it's telling you how fast the story's going. It's telling you exactly how characters are saying things, right? Everything is kind of done for you. I'm not complaining about it. I love movies, but like it's just there's just kind of inherently fewer access points for the observer to put themselves into it and make it kind of like you're kind of guiding the story in a way when you're reading a comic. The story's there for you, but you're deciding how fast. Yeah. And I don't know. There's something there. I'm sure there's been studies done on it. I should look into it. For
me, it's this balance of like, I think you hit on something really interesting. We're talking about sort of like not a movie, but I also think it's like on a different level than a book, right? Where like a movie shows you everything, right? There's no, I mean, you could have subtlety and subtext in a movie, but like the pace of the movie, the voice of the characters, the speed of the plot is all in the movie. That's all in the director. In comic books, or not in comic books, in a novel, you have to set everything. You have to imagine the characters in your mind. You have to imagine their voices. You have to paint that picture in your brain. And a good book will help you do that. But comics kind of meet in the middle, where like it gives you the text, it gives you visuals, but the voices you hear, the speed of the plot, even the tone of voice and like how they're saying it is influenced by those pictures, and it's just sort of like you as the reader bring it all together. The art and the writing and the tone, you combobulate all of those things to create to sort of bring the story together. And I think that is something you only get in a comic book in that format.
Indeed. Some cool covers. A lot of cool Hawkeye covers.
I like the red Hawkeye costume. That's fucking bitchin'. Like, I know purple Hawkeye's a thing and people love their purple Hawkeye. I like purple Hawkeye, but like the red Hawkeye, I'm digging it. I've always loved the Ultimate Thor costume. Like, I know Julia's talking about people that, like, she reads the voices of actors. Like, for me, Batman is, like, whenever I read a Batman story, it's Kevin Conroy in my head. And may he rest in peace. Because that man died a Batman. His reward is he gets to be Batman forever. Not
like that movie.
Batman forever, but he is my Batman for the rest of my life. And whenever I read Batman, it will sound like him.
Nice spread here.
That is a cool spread.
All right. Well, comics. We love
comics.
them.
They're great.
Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday.
Thanks once again to Richard Pace. And once again, I apologize for tech issues, although I thoroughly enjoyed the discussion we were able to have, and I think the audience did too.
I will have to go back and listen to that whole interview because he seems like good people.
Just remember that I'm not interrupting because I'm doing a bad job. I'm interrupting because there's nothing.
Yeah, because we've had some weird tech hiccups here, so I know more than anyone that fucking happens.
All right, you guys. We will see you on Sunday for part 2 of the Conservative FAP. As we get more into Project 2025. We're not going to talk about any comics on Sunday. We wouldn't do that type of thing.
We would never talk. I mean, I have some other things that we're talking about. We have a little guest essay from me.
Yes.
And I have to complain about someone because he's a fucker. It ties into it from an episode we've done in the past. So if you've listened to the deepest lore of the Fapcast, if you listened to our episode on the Cathars, this follows up from that in an interesting way.
Which actually I need to remember to promote this more, but there is a playlist on my channel on Actual Phantom of all the episodes of Fapcast. So if you are not sure where you can catch those or whatever, that's where you can do it. And once I get caught up on things again, I will try to make that more readily available. And also, guys, if you would not mind, I would greatly appreciate you watching this video from 11 hours ago. Like 260 views after 11 hours is like, I haven't experienced those kind of numbers in quite some time. It's very distressing to see.
I'll just fall asleep and put it on repeat on my phone and just like.
Oh, I appreciate the cheating for me. That's world's finest will return. That's true.
Yay!
You're talking about Morgan, right?
Aw. Well, you know what? It's funny you mentioned that. Tomorrow is my some number of years anniversary on hormone replacement therapy.
Oh, wow.
So we're going up to celebrate.
Cool. Well, happy
HRT day. Yeah. There's not like an official name for it. It's just that day. I thought we would go celebrate. So
there should be a name for it.
There might be. I haven't heard one, but it's not like, despite what the internet wants you to believe, it's not like all the trans people are in some sort of like group Discord where they have their conspiracies or whatever. Like that's not a thing.
The one thing I do want to talk to Richard Pace again because I was meant to ask him about because he worked on he's working on comics in the 90s and stuff, and he actually was working on Doctor Strange during this during this era, and I want to hear about that.
You're not old, Richard. You're seasoned.
Yeah, you just you got seasoning. You worked on this era, right? Is that right? Because like that is I have not read any of that. That is a fascinating look to me.
That is a different look for Doctor Strange, and like I'm kind of digging it.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
It's a different take for sure. I like it. I may have to check that out. Get on the
out of all the shit, all the crazy shit that happened to 90s characters in the 90s, right? To change them up, this is not the worst one.
This is no, God, no.
This is not like Daredevil's armor or Captain America's armor or
a lot of armor. The 90s must have armor.
It's a red, yeah. It's like the cloak, but it's like also like a Playboy robe almost. You know, he's like
like
kind of casual about it.
That really fancy scarf. Now we gotta hear the story, so you're gonna have to come back on, Richard.
He's like, "Fuck, somebody brought it up." Shit.
Now he's gonna block you, block your emails and stuff.
And we never heard from Richard Pace again because I shamed him. All right, yeah. All right, guys, hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to Richard Pace, by the way.
Yes, do that.
We actually need to make sure that we don't do Fabcast during his drawing streams. So.
Oh yeah, we'll have to figure out when that is and coordinate.
Yep.
I should go and like the stream because I was naughty. I joined late.
Have a good weekend, y'all, and take care of yourselves and one another. And then also check this out. Peace.
There's some stories going round about this wayfaring stranger. Those who whisper of his past know his coming means danger. But maybe there's hope to be found when he silently arrives. For no trouble can outlast the return of Jake's sunrise.